3, 2. Oh my God.
Yo, what's up?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the program.
The Airtime Podcast is presented by Van Shoes since 1966.
There's nothing fake about it. Have something to believe in and be yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Our guest today is professional photographer, an incredible snowboarder, incredible moto, surfing, really does it all. But his photography skills over the last, I want to say 5 years, have really made a mark in action sports, and he's absolutely been crushing it. And there's been no handouts. It's through straight dedication to the game, and I'm a big fan. And he also gave me a cover, so I'm just forever grateful. Tyler Ravelle, thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for the cover.
Thank you. That was my first cover too, so this is kind of special that we get to hang, and I'm just stoked.
I mean, I could have went bigger. I said it at Baldface when you handed me the cover, but I do like the cover.
Yeah,
Thank
that was
you.
special. It's art. For me, like looking at that photo, it's a quintessential Jody moment, and I think that's why they love it so much. It's like, you don't need that grab. You're one of the few people I know that can hit something and not grab and have it look so good and have it be silhouetted, but know right away that's probably Jody, and it is. So it's just different, and Rusty called that out and found that sixth spot, and Sean battled for that back double 10 and didn't get it, and then we shot a cover while he was digging.
Thank you for adding that. He was. They built Crispin's Cannon.
Yeah.
Is that what that jump's called? Bo Bishop was hitting it. He landed first try. He got a front three. That was sick.
Also got in that magazine too. Shouts out Bo.
Yeah. Bo and Belzo was battling with the back 7 on that. Never got it.
Yeah.
And then Miskimen, backside 10, and he did a huge hand drag, and it wasn't acceptable.
It was close, but no cigar.
Totally. It's just not a land. It was a skier land, but not a snowboarder land.
Yeah. And meanwhile, me and Rusty and you are just frothing on this epic backlit little nugget that nobody even noticed.
I mean, that was a big one for me, to be honest. A cover later in your career, and I just had been on the bomb hole, and I was kind of like, that was my bucket list, and then that all came together. So yeah, thank you to everybody involved in that. When did you know that you landed that cover, and that was your first cover? So that's like a huge check mark in the bucket list, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Huge.
It was October, and I was shooting a mountain bike thing with Brett Reeder, and Colin and I were FaceTiming, talking about this story we were doing on me and my photo journey for the Snowboard Journal. And, I was firing him my selects, kind of bouncing back the photos that we liked. And he mentioned, kind of in passing, that photo of you is like a huge runner-up for the cover. And I was like, holy shit. And that was like right after your podcast came out, or around the same time. And listening to your podcast with the bomb hole and hearing that like Snowboard Journal shout out, I would love to get a cover. I was like, holy shit, like this is almost too good. Like, however, thank goodness you shouted out Snowboard Journal. I was like, come on. Colin's going to be so bummed if you mentioned everyone except them. And you did, you killed it. And I didn't know 100% until the magazine basically came out, but once I started sending Colin like the high res of that photo and like, doing a few little tweaks to it, I was like, I think this is going to be a cover.
I have to say that was almost arguably my career highlight would have been getting that cover at Baldface from you. All my peers are up there taking the risk maturity avalanche safety first aid course, and so there's 30 professional snowboarders that are my heroes that are at the top of Baldface. I don't know who came up with that idea and concept to give me a cover on the top of a mountain where like I was crazy, dude. That was nuts. So
it was basically, I was talking with Raz and Chris Rasman, and we were coming up with the reveal and kind of bouncing ideas of Colin. And Colin wanted it to be a little bit later, but it was just too obvious to me and Rasman. We're like, Jody needs this at Baldface in front of all the people he loves. Like, that respect of how hard he's worked his whole career. Like, I think it would be the most that's a moment you're gonna look back at when you're 80 and be like, holy fuck, like
You too. I mean, that
Dude,
was a moment
same.
for both of us. Like
it's true.
It seems like it's getting more directed towards me as the rider, but I think that's a common misconception. It's like, I think within the action sports, the action group, like the snowboarders or the skateboarders or the surfers that are like directly correlated to just the sport aspect, there's this whole other aspect, which is media, which nobody's video parts and nobody's photos exist without all these other creative minds. And sometimes I feel like those people are, I don't want to say overlooked, because in their community, like all the photographers have their own mentors and they have their own heroes and stuff like that. Like a lot of people are thinking Devin Wallace. Well, there's a lot of young photographers on the come up that are thinking like Blotto, and like who are Ollie G, and they have their list of, or Bud Fawcett or whoever, I don't know, whatever area you're from. And so for you to get a cover in front of your peers up there, where there's a bunch of photographers and media people, it's like, and now that you're in the position almost, it seems to me that you've transcended past the like rookie photographer into like a household name in not only snowboarding now, but also in just action sports. So thank you so much for that cover. And I mean, cheers to us.
Dude, well, also huge shouts out to Jeff. Like,
Oh, yeah.
the second I called Jeff, I'd never spoken with him before, never met him. I hit him up and FaceTimed him out of the blue. Rasman gave me his number, and this guy was so down. And, I know you were going through a lot with Chelsea that week, and just Jeff is texting you every day, be like, you got to get up here for Saturday or Sunday, man. Like, it's going to be special. Like, you got to come for one day. And he sent, it was really an army of people to get you, like getting you on the boat and then on the snowmobile. And then he somehow brought out 500 of these firework Roman candles for us to barrel you in fireworks when you got there. And he put in as much effort, more effort than anyone. So just a huge shout out to like the Baldface crew for being such a staple in this snowboard world we live in, for being really like the keepers of the culture and doing it because they love it, and knowing how much it would mean to you, how much it would mean to me. He did, answering that call from a stranger and going so hard to get you up there. That's something I'm going to remember forever.
Yeah. Huge shout outs to Jeff and all he's ever done for snowboarding. That was a career highlight for me, and I'm glad we got to share that. So yeah, cheers to Jeff. Dude. You're the man.
Hell yeah.
And to the Snowboard Journal.
Yeah, shouts out Colin.
Yeah, Colin. Everybody.
Everyone. They ran a really special story.
Wiseman, legend.
Yeah, of just, let me kind of talk a little bit about my life, and it feels good to be outward with emotion and just like the real shit, and not hold anything back. And it's been really nice to have these outlets, including this,
I'm happy that I'm doing a small part with the podcast.
Hell yeah, brother. Cheers to that.
All right, before camera man Tyler, there was Border Tyler, a young, hungry, keen snowboarder in Whistler who, I think kind of inspired this whole new chapter that you're on.
Totally. I mean, snowboarding at its core, I owe my life to. Every aspect of it, whether it's the art side or the athletic side. Getting a snowboard when I was 7 years old changed my life, and it basically has provided everything, all my friends, all the travel opportunities, the opportunity to be a creative. And I was born on the West Coast, born in Vancouver, and then we moved to Ontario, and I went to high school there, and I kind of immediately knew that I just didn't belong there. I knew the mountains were just calling me. As cliche as that is, like, me and my dad would always fly back to Whistler and go snowboard. And whether it was for my birthday or Father's Day, him and I would just do these trips together and come shred. And every time I came back, it just felt more and more like home. So in high school, I remember going to my guidance counselor and being like, I'm going to be a pro snowboarder and move to Whistler. Like,
That's dope.
I'm not. And she was like, hell yeah, brother. Like,
No way.
Yeah, she
Support.
was like, everyone does the same thing. Like, go out for a few years, and I was either gonna do that or be a lawyer. And she's like, you can be a lawyer whenever, so go do that thing. And yeah, I finished high school and basically moved to Whistler right away, and moved in with two random Germans to chase this like snowboard dream. And I got a job really early on at Showcase. I was like 18 years old, so keen. And that's how I kind of got to meet all these like snowboard reps and brands. And I was like, this is my in to be a pro snowboarder. Like maybe this is what I wanted. And, you know, I just remember working at Showcase. I would snowboard every day till like 2 or 3, go in and work till 9. And then every single day kind of just try to learn new things and meet new people. Mostly I was just a park rat then. And, slowly I got to meet Garrett Haleko, the forum rep at the time, and he gave me a few forum boards, and I was like, this is it. Fuck law school. I got a few snowboards, and I was like, I could do this now. And before the time of like creating your own media was a thing, I already was like shooting photos and filming for myself and teaching my friends how to use my camera gear. And so I was like 18 years old, being able to send these brands assets of me really early on before that was a thing, because I always realized I was a good snowboarder, but I was never going to be, you know, the Tyler and the Darcy and the Mikey and Jamie and Mark McMoe. Like I knew my niche was kind of being a good snowboarder, but being a really good, brand ambassador and creating my own content early on was kind of how I got ahead and how I started getting flow from a few brands and a little bit of recognition. And yeah, as the years went on, I remember just like shooting more and more and snowboarding more and more, but I'd be in the park with my friends, and Darcy and Mikey would be doing like double and triple corks, and Tyler and Jamie would be sending. And I just started to really wonder if this is like the path I wanted to keep chasing. You know, being a pro snowboarder, it's like there's so much risk, and I was good, but never that good. And the camera was slowly opening more and more doors for me. And just exploring that avenue, I remember one day I was like, I'm not going to do a triple cork, you know? Like I did a double wildcat once on left shack, and I was like, that was fucking crazy. Like
Twice around, motherfuckers.
Yeah, I was like, okay, you know, that's on the resume. I'm good on that. And then it's been really special. Like my photo journey has coincided with my snowboard journey with brands like 686 and Endeavor and Airhole, and how they were kind of early supporters of my snowboarding, now supporting my photography as well has been really cool. Like I've had a relationship with the 686 guys for like 13 years. And, you know, Brent and Pat were so good at hooking me up with gear and bringing me to Baker and always making me feel included. And now we just put out like this little story on me that came out last month, and on my creative side and how that kind of works. And I just feel really lucky. These snowboard brands that I originally, you know, wanted to ride for and got flowed from have been long-term supporters of my photography too. And I just think that's so sick. You know, Max Jenke was basically the first one to pay me for photography and, you know, support a few little trips to Japan. And, you know, our first trip, he paid for my flight and a little bit of travel budget there. And I was like, holy shit, like, this is really special. You know, the places a camera can take me, and these people tossing a little bit of budget my way started to really click. And basically from that, the gates just kept rolling.
I love that you highlighted there the acknowledgement of the small amount of support you got in the beginning from Max, because I think a lot of people, when they're trying to make it at the beginning, sometimes they just take that for granted, you know, that little bit of support. Yeah. But it's like, no, you don't deserve anything. I feel like so many people film 1 video part or 2 video parts, or they get 3 photos published, and they start feeling like they deserve the world. So to acknowledge at a young age that like, whoa, like Max is paying for me to go on a trip, like this is really special. Because it is. Someone is giving 100%. You money 100%. And giving you an opportunity, when really at that point you should realize that your value is pretty small because you haven't proven anything yet. You know,
exactly.
If you open up your resume, it's looking pretty like, you know, maybe you could throw it into ChatGPT or whatever like that and make it sound all nice, but you haven't done shit.
Dude, 100%. And they're taking a chance on you, and it's still like, you know, $1,500 flight is that's some cheddar bisque when you're 25 years old and you only got a couple grand in your bank account.
$1,500, dude?
Dude,
that's
exactly.
Amazing.
And so those little moments, like maybe to those brands and those guys then, like maybe they don't realize how much it meant to me, but I still think about that, and I'm so grateful for these little opportunities to like start to make a name. And because you need those like small moments to get that momentum going and get that confidence going. And I think a lot of creatives these days, like they want to go so hard right away. And a big bit of advice is just to like enjoy the ride and start with these like small projects and small budgets and work your way up and prove yourself, you know, like show your worth, because, you know, years later, you know, 686 is still supporting me and able to like help me with my day rates and get me on some projects. And, you know, as you grow and you help the brand grow, everything grows and everyone benefits. So, you know, don't be discouraged by like not getting a top dollar day rate right away, you know, just like earn your spot and put in the time and put in the knowledge learning and just have fun, you know. That's like my biggest thing is people that ask me how to do this, like being a photographer is like 5th on the list of things you need to be good at to make a living in the creative space. You need to be a good person first. You need to be fun. You need to be energetic. You need to have a vision. You need to like communicate well and not take things personally. And
Damn.
yeah,
Those are some good tips. Damn, dude. I also you can't burn bridges. You know what I mean? Snowboarding is this, at the time you get an opportunity, like you said, with Cole and 686 and Endeavor. And if you were this ungrateful little bastard who's just like, I deserve more than this, like I'm the shit, and you burn those bridges, they're no, like you have nowhere to go.
totally.
But now you've used all of the opportunity that those brands gave you, and you've gotten to where you are, and you still work with those companies, even though you're working with brands as big as, you know, Troy Lee Design and the North Face, etc., and all these huge brands now, billion-dollar brands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just, what did you say back there? You said something about those 5 points after, like you said, oh, don't get your feelings hurt or whatever. What was that one?
Yeah. Don't take things personally.
Don't take things personally. That one really hits for me, because I think when you're young, you're hypersensitive to things, and you're easy to burn bridges because you take things personally, when the person that is hiring you is probably thinking of it more of like, this is business, and you're just this kid that's like, this person was mean to me. And it's like, no, they weren't being mean to you.
Yeah.
It's just
maybe your
life.
photos just sucked, and like maybe you need to like take a course on how to edit a little bit nicer and like take that criticism a little bit better.
Constructive criticism.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like hard. I mean, when you send photos away and someone's like, oh, it's not really what we're looking for, you know, just take that as like learning and get better and learn how to communicate beforehand what you're looking for. And I think being, you know, a professional these days is basically you got to have all the tools in your kit, and whether the light's good or bad, you need to be ready for it all. And yeah, just don't take things personally and have fun.
Do you think you manifested where you are today? Because I think that you said something about like, you were like, oh, I was never going to be the best snowboarder, but then that's exactly what happened. You know what I mean? Where I think when people like Michael Jordan or Mark McMorris, it's like those people are going to bed being like, I am the best, and I am going to be the best. And when Tyler's in his head back in the day, and you're like, I'm never going to be the best snowboarder, and I kind of like photography. It's almost like, do you feel like you kind of manifested where you are right now?
It's so funny. This has been in front of me the whole time. Since I was 13, I would shoot skateboarding with my friends, and I always had a camera, and I was always learning how to shoot video and new editing techniques and new photo techniques and how to make sequences. I remember like being 14 and not knowing Photoshop, but like using Microsoft Paint and like doing my first skate sequence and having it look so ghetto. But, you know, the creative outlet for me has always been there since I was 13 years old. I bought a Canon, I bought a fisheye, and I started shooting skating, and the answer has always been in front of me. You're this creative dude that loves action sports and adventure. It just took a few years and maybe letting the ego die a little bit. Like I remember the first day I posted a photo snowboarding of someone else other than me. And that was the day I let my ego die. I was like, the snowboarder Tyler version of you is dead. Like, you got to drop that ego. It's no longer about you. And that ego doesn't serve you. And it was like this photo of Sean Miskam, and I remember that we shot with Mason. And that first day I was like, this is the turning point. The ego's gone, and you're accepting this new chapter. Like, it's no longer about you, you know?
I really do like, on my personal account, probably around a similar time. It used to just be like on Insta, like post about yourself.
Yeah.
And then I really like photography too, and I don't really have a skill set. I'm more like point and pray kind of guy. But every once in a while, I get a couple frames that I like and I share. And around that same time frame, oddly enough, I think I was doing the same thing. I was like taking photos of my friends, and you get a couple frames that you're excited about, and then you're like, well, I'm trying to be this sponsored snowboarder, but this is one of my friends who's riding a nitro or whatever. But You're like, I don't care. Like, now when I look back on someone's account that's just about them, that's fine. But for me, I like that the journey is incorporating all the people that I've been hanging out around with. It's a little bit of like a story. And I mean, that's what photography and video is. You're just telling a story. So
Yeah, man. Like, you want to get into storytelling. I think since like losing my dad, I lost my dad in an accident last year. And the one thing that has really made me appreciate this career is the only thing of his that matter are these photo books that we have and these film strips that we have. And we have such a well-documented childhood of like film and adventure and travel. And since losing my dad, I think I'm just like the luckiest person in the world to be a photographer and hopefully curate moments that, you know, maybe one day one of us leave this planet, but there's this like well-documented life of photos that I took of one of my good friends, and their kids get to hold that and be like, holy shit, my dad or my mom was like this epic person. It really, it's changed how I shoot, you know? I think when I take a photo of someone now, it's not like, who can I sell this to, or what magazine will pick this up? I think like, how is this person going to feel when they look at this image in 40 years, or their children's children? Like, I feel like it's a gift that I have now that I can curate these moments that one day someone's going to hold and be like, holy shit, that's cool. My dad's on this glacier that doesn't even exist anymore, ripping his freaking sled, going 100K on the way to build this massive jump. Like, I'm so blessed to have this as my job now. And I knew I was lucky before, but to tell this, like, these stories now, it just like, it really hits home just how special photography is. And photography, since I was a kid holding SBC and Transworld and Snowboard Mag, like, I was such a consumer of these print medias of snowboarding and skateboarding and surf. And I just remember having stacks in my room, and I could never get enough of, you know, print media. And photography's always been the answer for me. And now that it's my job and I get to basically, you know, take these photos that capture that pure essence of that moment or that light or that feeling, it's like, I feel like I'm the luckiest person. I feel really grateful that you trust me and that people trust me, and I get these real moments of you know, just real raw emotion.
a good photographer, I feel like, can capture a story in an image. For me, anyway, this is an experience that I have with photos that I really like, is I can just look at them for a while and be like, this says so many, like that old saying is a picture's a million bajillion words.
Yeah.
It's true. I can just look at it and there's so much emotion in it. Like, there's lifestyle photos that I was really good friends with UC Grisnar growing up.
Oh, yeah.
And I always liked his action photos, for sure. But there was something about the way he could take portraits of people. I'll never forget, he showed me a slideshow one time, and it's just photos of people. And I was like, dude, there's a story in this photo. Like, the lighting he would choose, the filters, everything like that. It's just like, it would bring that individual to life. You're like looking at it and you're like, what was this guy's story? And you can see in the eyes, you know, so much of somebody's like personality in that exact moment, whether they're like
100%,
whether they're like super joyful or if they're super like mad. And you get to capture those intimate moments when somebody's like has just bailed off of a jump and their goggles are halfway around their head and their beard's filled with snow, and you take like just one frame. It explains that whole situation so well. And to yourself, I think that's where your photography has gotten to right now. It's like, I really feel like in the last 2 to 3 years, as somebody who just has an opinion about photography because I really like it, it's just like your photos are starting to like tell a story. And it's like you've gone from being like a good photographer into like finding your niche, your style, everything like that. And I'm really glad that I'm somebody who gets to shoot with you, because now when it's funny, a couple of years ago, it's like, oh, we're going to bring Tyler. And it's like, okay, we're bringing the rookie photographer. Now I'm like, no, we're bringing one, like the top dog that you want on the crew.
Dude, thanks so much.
To back it up a bit, the 5 things that you said there about bringing more than just the photography skills, and almost that being the 5th thing that you need.
Straight up.
You bring all that other stuff. You bring like a positive energy into the parking lot. You know what I mean? You're fun. You're funny. You show up on time. You're professional. You're easy to work with. Even when I have my film camera out the other day when we're shooting Raz, you're like, oh, dude, yeah, blast a couple frames. You know, if we're shooting for a Visa commercial, I get like, hey, this is my job right now. Put that fucking thing down.
Oh, yeah.
But like reading the day and just being like, you want to snap a couple frames? For sure, Jody. Like it's so easy to work with you. So like, kudos to you. I think you're really headed on quite the journey, man.
Thanks, man.
You're leaning into the right areas, Tyler.
I think I'm so lucky to have had such really positive mentorship and people not gatekeep this industry. You know, Mason Michon, whether he knows or not, like he basically was looking for a buddy that was like his yes guy, that was down to go sled and ride motos and bike and just have a good time constantly. And I turned into that guy where I was just like his yes guy. And we developed this really beautiful relationship through that. And he didn't know it. I didn't know it at the time, but he was mentoring the whole time, not gatekeeping a single thing. And, you know, the way that he carries himself is how I aim to be. And seeing how he interacts with athletes and brands and people and how fun he is, I was like, that's the only way to be. And I see how well it's worked for him and how, you know, he's like almost 10 years older than me and has this really beautiful community and all these great friends. And, you know, I was just like, I aspire to be like that. And I've always looked at Mace and been like, you know, whether he realized it or not, just taking notes in my head constantly. And like I said, not gatekeeping. And now we get to work these massive Oakley commercials together and Red Bull projects. And it's a really good lesson that he could have, you know, kept those jobs and those contacts to himself and just been that Red Bull guy and that Oakley guy. But he opened those doors and was like, let's do this together. And now we get even bigger jobs together because of that. And, you know, for anyone in the creative world that's listening, like there's a lot of opportunity out there. There's no need to gatekeep. Like there's space for everyone. Everyone has a different eye and a different niche and a different way of storytelling. And I think, you know, anyone that has questions that's younger or older than me that's just getting started, like reach out. I'm stoked to like talk about gear and how much you should charge and, you know, different lighting techniques and different, you know, just I want to be as an open book as Mace was to me. And as like the UCs and the Scotts and the Dean Blottos and the Blatts, like those guys have inspired me for so long. And I remember Blotto calling me to shoot this arc thing for Burton. And I was like, what the heck? Like that was a crazy moment. And then getting to go out with McMo and Rents and Solars and Mikey and, you know, there's some days you get these phone calls and you're just like, what the fuck is going on? Like I've been watching this guy shoot photos for my whole life and now we're just having a chill convo. And then they'll hit me back I'll deliver the images. They'll hit me back and they'll be stoked and it just feels so good. Like I really am on the right path to something. And I don't know where that path's leading me, but all I know right now is I've got such good friends. I've got this beautiful, creative and athletic and outdoor community and I'm like truly happy. And a lot of people are always like, what's next? What's next? And I'm trying to remind myself like this 10 years ago would have been the biggest dream known to mankind. Like nothing would have beat this. So just like, I'm just enjoying this moment right now. I'm smelling the roses. I'm like soaking it in. I'm not always planning like the crazy next thing and just reflecting and kind of in a state of reflecting these days.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm imagining when you lose somebody as important as a dad, and if you were close with your dad, which I know you were, that's going to change a lot of things. Do you feel like his passing kind of reshaped the way you think and the way that the way you move through life now?
Oh, yeah. Like, I've said this a few times to people close to my life, but the problems that I thought I had a year and a half ago while he was still alive, I would fucking give anything for those problems right now. You know, those problems were so minuscule. They didn't matter. They were so trivial, shit that doesn't even matter. And now, since losing my dad, I think the small stuff doesn't bother me anymore. I'm a river. I keep flowing, you know, that's like the state I'm kind of in. Like, if something comes up, if an obstruction comes up, I just flow around it and I don't let the small stuff bother me. And that's, I think, been the biggest lesson of he wouldn't want me to waste my time and energy like sweating the small stuff. He was so proud of this life that I was starting to build, and I'm so grateful that he got to see my business start thriving and see me truly happy and reach a part of my life that I never thought was possible. That's like the biggest gift, that he got to see that, and not everyone gets that. And some people lose their dads or their moms a lot earlier in life. Some people don't have moms or dads, and instead of thinking of that loss, I think of like the abundance and the fact that he moved to Whistler 10 years ago, basically. We got a little condo together and we got to spend so much time snowboarding and making dinners and losing at crib and, you know, just these things. Like, that's the real shit. And just want to thank this Whistler community for accepting my dad, and like all my friends being such good homies with him and letting me know when they went up on the chairlift with him and sharing these memories. Like, this community meant so much to him and means so much to me, and hearing these stories of how much he was loved during his time here is fucking special. And the one thing I miss the most is like the random spring day being on Solar Coaster and watching my dad randomly try to do side hits below me. Like, he has no idea I'm there. Me and my friends are just like watching him jump straight legged. I'm like, fuck, that's sick, you know? Taking him in the park and watching him hit little jumps like that, you know. I'm so grateful for all those years of, you know, our time in Whistler and then snowboarding. And it comes back to like snowboarding is giving me everything, and him getting a board for me when I was 7 and working really hard so that we could go to the mountains and spend all that time together. Like, I couldn't trade those memories for anything.
I definitely feel like dads, from my experience, and we are in a fortunate position, my closest group of friends here in Whistler, where a lot of our dads are still around. And when you get past your 30s, you all start to realize that life is going by fast, and that your time with your mom, your dad, your uncles, your aunts, whoever, your dog, it's like it's not there forever. And 100%. So when you're younger, though, there's this weird point where you go from being a young kid into your teenagers, and you relied on your dad, and then at one point you don't want your dad and your mom around. They're cramping your style. You're on this new wave, you know what I mean? And then you get a bit older, and then I feel like a lot of times the dad's like, hey, I don't want to like cramp your style, but like he's starting to realize that he's not going to be around forever, and he's like, hey, like we should hang out a bit, like we should paint the fucking whatever, the bench together, like we should work on the car together, let's fix your bike together, let's wax our snowboards together.
Oh yeah.
And you can see, I'm seeing that with my dad a lot now. Like, he's older, and I see the way he's like reaching out, but he does it in a way where he's like, but I don't want to bug you. Like, if you're down, like we can, but I don't want to bug you. And if I had like one piece of advice to anybody, which I mean, I haven't lost him yet, is just like to do those things. Like,
yeah,
to hang out with them when they want to go to the movie. If you have a snowboard premiere and it's in your super small town, like invite them to it. Like, go watch a hockey game with them. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like right now that I've turned that down a lot over the years, and like I'm getting to the point of regret because I don't live by him. And now I can only imagine someone in your shoes. You're just like this. You don't have that forever. Like, go fucking hang out with your dads, you idiot.
100%. Like, I brought this photo of my dad. I want to show you. And like, this is my dad.
Hit that on camera 3 here.
And you know, this ride was so random. It was like a little moto ride we went on, and
cheers to your dad, by the way.
Dude, the biggest fucking cheers to this guy. And you want to talk about like photos meaning a lot? Like, I would, you know, this photo, I would drain my fucking bank account to make sure this photo never disappeared. Like, I'm so grateful for cameras and these moments, and like, just, yeah, these moments that we get to keep forever.
Yeah, man. Cheers to your old man. That's a fucking. Did you take that photo?
Oh yeah.
That's a fucking beauty.
Yeah, we're
That's
just
a
like,
fucking
it's
sick-
just like a random Tuesday. I'm like, let's go to Pemby and ride bikes, and just, it was such a natural moment. He was so happy in life and trying to keep up with me on his bike. And yeah, like, that's a photo that I look back on and I'm like, holy shit, I'm so glad I brought that camera with me. And I take that feeling every time I take my camera out with me. I think of that shot and just how that moment now means so much to me. You never know. Like, I used to think the action shot was like the number one be all or end all. Like, have to get the crazy action shots. And what I'm realizing now, like, the action shot is fucking easy. Like, that's easy. Like, finding the angles, shooting the trick in good light, that's sick. But what was, like, the hard thing is the emotion before. What were the athletes feeling? What was the light? What was the vibe? Like, what were the in-between moments? Like, what happened after they landed? And like I said, photos like that changed my perspective on how I shoot. And super grateful for these lessons, you know?
That's such a, like,
Dude.
that photo, just like yeah, lean that up right there.
Yeah, dude.
Like, everything about that, just like, he's kind of staring past the camera. He's got a little shit-eating grin, like he's having a good day. Maybe not the best day ever, but like a good solid day right there. Like, he's just living in that photo. He's on a motorbike for those that are listening to just audio.
Oh yeah,
it's black and white. What is that, a crotch rocket?
Dude, he's on like an adventure KTM because he always had to have like a bigger, better thing than me. Me and my dad had this, like, since I was a kid, like, ongoing contest. Like, I was born first, and it was always like, if I do a backflip, he's got to do a backflip. If I hit
Your dad did a backflip?
Dude, oh yeah, like, not on snowboards, like cliff jumping and on trampolines, and, you know, if I did something on my bike, he'd have to get a bike. And it was always a contest, which I loved, and I think that's why I am who I am today. I'm a little bit, like, competitive, and I like having that edge that I kind of grew up having. And like I said, focusing on the abundance of memories instead of what's not going to come, focus on what I've had. And that's been, you know, it takes time to, like, have that mentality, and a lot of, like, you know, a lot of journaling and a lot of inward thinking. But I'm just, like, so happy to feel like myself again. And the biggest gift I can do for myself, I think, is just continue to romanticize the fuck out of my life. Like, appreciate everything. Appreciate the shit out of this coffee that you and I are drinking, this conversation. Appreciate the sunsets, the mountains we blow past every day on our snowmobiles. Like, I appreciate things so much more now. And that's never going to leave me, I think.
That's a really good, it's a good way of living right there.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as you start slowing down and smelling the roses, that's good. You know, that's when you know that you're starting to figure it out more. I think when everything needs to be more, and you need certain things to make you feel good, X, Y, and Z, whether that's sex, drugs, whatever. Like, if you can't just be there and be sitting in the car idling at a stoplight and look to the left and see the sun going down and be like, that's a nice sun.
Yeah.
It's like those simple things I think you really start to digest when you get older, because you realize the fragility of life, and you realize just, like, how fucking truly beautiful and how lucky all this shit really is. Like, we're going deep here.
Yeah,
we're going deep, but
this
it's
is
fucking
deep.
true, dude. It's like,
I'm gonna cry a few times during this podcast. We got one out of the way already, but it's
that's a first for me in my booth.
Yeah,
that's a first.
You know, these cliches exist for a reason, and, you know, it's nice to learn these lessons, like, the hard way, but then also appreciate it after. And like I said, I'm just going to continue just romanticizing everything, appreciating all these little opportunities we get to travel, and the places we get to go, and the people we get to meet along the way. And I try to not take things for granted, like little things I would take for granted before. Now, like I said, I'm smelling the roses, and I'm slowing down, and I'm not chasing the next big commercial or next big client. I'm just like, I'm grateful for the things I have now, and trust the process that as long as I continue to be a good person and instill the values that my parents teach me or taught me, and just be fun to hang out with, then everything's going to work out great. Keep pushing the creative path, but keep being a good person first.
Yeah, being a good person goes a long way. I mean, honestly, I feel like I know a lot of people that they've blown it in life, certain decisions, whether they've gone bankrupt or struggled with addiction or whatever, just a shitstorm, but they've always been a good person. It works out for that person. If you're the person with some money and you've hit some clovers along the way and you've hit some lucky lottery tickets, but you've been just burning bridges, that life's going to pan out for you and you're going to get the short end of the stick really quick.
Dude, exactly.
And life will fly by, and then one day it's just going to put you into a really bad position where the person who's always kind of doing the right thing, it works out for that person.
Yeah. I really realize, like, when something bad happens and your community comes out of the woodwork, and losing my dad, I'm like, I was able to see immediately just how many people love me and reach out, and not just like the days or weeks after, but the months. And, you're kind of doing something right in life when you feel so loved during a time of so much hurt. And, that in itself, I'm like, wow, I'm so lucky to have that community. Money and work and shit doesn't really matter. It's that community, because those are the people that have your back when times get tough.
That's why community is so important, man. Like, I think that's a heavily overlooked aspect of all of us being on this earth, is like, especially living in a place like North America where it's like the hustle and bustle, keeping up with the Joneses. Like, that's just part of the life, is just like spread yourself thin and work as hard as you can. But then you look at like what life is supposed to be. I feel like since the beginning of time, it's been like, you would get older, you would take care of your parents would teach the young kids, and it would just be like this beautiful circle, and everybody would learn off of everybody. This wheel of life that was moving. And now I feel like there's a lot of just living for yourself and living for the wrong things, like just money.
Yeah, money and things. And
things.
Things are a freaking killer. And what I love so much about this Sea to Sky community is, moving here when I was 18 and seeing that people value good stories and sick travel experiences. When you meet someone for the first time, they're not asking, what do you do for work? They're like, where did you ride this week? Or like, what kind of snowboarding do you like? And since, being a young adult here, that's how I've kind of learned to be. Ask people about what makes them happy, where they've traveled, what what kind of surfboards they have in their quiver, not what the fuck they do for work. And yeah, the Sea to Sky community has taught me so much. And, the things, obviously we have to have kind of expensive things to do with what we like. And I'm being a bit of a hypocrite, but, not always chasing things, chasing stories and cool places. And that's what I love that this community has taught me, that it's not about what you own, it's about what you've done and who you've done it with.
One thing that I think we can transition here a little bit is, you have a bunch of these big jobs. You're getting jobs with, we mentioned a couple of them, but like huge companies, Burton, North Face, Troy Lee, Oakley, the list goes on, Red Bull. I think every brand that is out right now is going to, in the next couple years, is going to either sink or swim, and it's going to be based around community. If you don't have a company that stands for something and that really is behind the whole people, it's like, no one's going to be, to put this in the context of you realizing how important it is to have community. It's like, I think that there's going to be good times and high times and low times in the market. And when you don't have a community built around your brand, it's going to sink during those hard times.
There's just people running either these massive brands or small brands or whatever. And it's their opportunity to create that community. And like, a few of the people at Oakley that I work with, like you think of Oakley and it's like this massive conglomerate, but there's guys like Jess and Nico and Jake and Steph and Ryan that pull these like community events together. And yeah, it's $1 billion brand, but they really value community. Basically, no matter what is happening in the industry, whether times are tight or whether it's good, they put community first, and it's kind of cool to see that and be a part of that, and be grateful for that.
I know. I'm a big fan of when I see like brands get behind like community events. And it's like, if you are a $1 billion brand or a multi-million-dollar brand and you're not doing those things, don't think that people aren't noticing, because people are. People are slow, and it's like this ripple effect that it's like eventually people kind of notice, and then they're like, what's that brand? What does it stand for? And then before you know it, you're just a brand collecting dust that looks the same as every other brand on the shelf, and nobody remembers what you were about.
Exactly.
If you're a $1 billion brand, get the snowboard community together and do like a bank slalom and give everybody some hot dogs at the end of the day. And in turn, that the reason why you have a brand in the first place is because of that community.
Yeah.
So give back to that community.
Dude, exactly. Like the Jake Day for Burton.
Yeah, great.
Like, holy cow, they do it all around the world. This year in Whistler was so fun. They put a budget together where we all got to go après, and they hooked up some couple drinks for everyone. And, that shit costs money. And in a time where budgets are getting tighter, it's really cool to see that they still prioritize community. And
those are the ones that are going to end up, they're going to be the swimmers. You know what I mean? Those are going to be people at the end of the race that are like, we're still here.
Dude.
Because there's new companies coming up every single day. It's like there's a hyper niche company in every single action sports now, in every hub around the world. There's a hyper niche, skateboard company just in California. There's a hyper niche moto community, wherever in South America. And all those companies are going to take big market share in the next little bit, because they're going to be doing community events and stuff like that. So if you're the big dog companies, it's like you need to be building communities all over the world that showcase what your brand's about, or people are going to forget, and there's going to be some small local company that people are going to fuck with more, and they're going to put their dollars into that. And, that's just the way it's going to be.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. That's just my advice to all those big companies out there, is to give me some free hot dogs. All I'm looking is free dogs
to make us happy.
I just want some sauerkraut. I'm Ukrainian. That's kind of what I'm going for out there. But yeah. All right, 1 second here. I mean, if I just lost my dad, I would be like, fuck, everyone's going to hear some advice, everybody.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't, we're all going to go through it. And since I'm further ahead on this journey, like, here's some ways on how to deal with grief.
Totally. And it's just like, it's shaped every facet of my life, like this last year and a half. And it would be basically a crime to not talk about, like, how that shaped me and made me reflect on who I am now and how I got there, and just be grateful for all this shit. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I owe it to my dad. I also owe so much to my dad. And it's like, the more I get to say how much I fucking just love him, the lighter I feel, the better I feel. And, I'm sure he's feeling that wherever he is, like, oh man, like, he's still proud of Ty, and I'm going to, continue to make him proud.
Do you live your life in a way where you constantly ask yourself, is this going to make my dad proud? Would this make my dad proud?
Yeah, like, my mentality immediately was like, okay, I'm living for two people now. Like, and it's so cliche, but my dad's mom's still alive, and she's fucking awesome. My grandma, she's 96, turning 97 this summer.
Legend.
And her and I have this really dope relationship where we talk every few days for basically 13 years, because when I moved away and told my parents that I wasn't going to go to law school, they were pretty bummed for a little while. And so, like, the only one I felt like was on my team was my grandma. She was always like, it's going to work out for you. Like, I have faith. And she's still around and still healthy and has pretty good mind. And her saying was that life is not a dress rehearsal. And my dad always would tell me that, like, remember your grandma's words, you get one crack at this freaking life. So, those words are like forever echoing in my head. And I got it tattooed on my arm just so I can always look back and be like, my grandma always said life is not a dress rehearsal. And remember, like, those days where, I choose to like fuck those days where I'm like, I need to work an email instead of go shoot epic shit with my friends. It's like, fuck that. I'm going to go shoot epic shit. And I think people hire me because I'm out doing the fun stuff, not because I respond to emails within 8 minutes. So, life is not a dress rehearsal. Like, appreciate the small things and take advantage of things and don't sweat the small stuff. And thanks to the brands that I work with that are okay with me responding in 2 to 3 days.
A nice little plug there.
You know who you are.
But seriously, shout outs to those people.
Yeah.
I actually really like when I've been communicating with a couple of the brands that I've been lucky enough to be getting some free stuff, the North Face, and I sometimes write an email and it just says, I'm gone camping until this day. See you in a bit. And I'm like,
Dude.
that's dope.
Yeah.
I
respect
good for you.
the hell out of it.
Yeah. I don't need this jacket or this paycheck like 1 day or 2 days in advance. If you can go out and go camping and de-stress and come back to the office, you're going to make not only my job better, and like you're going to make everybody who's around you is going to be happier if you just went into the mountains for a couple days and came back and de-stressed and kind of came back. You press the reset button and you're like, okay, I'm back at the office. I'm not going to kill everybody over the broken coffee machine right now.
Exactly. I know.
Okay, we have a Patreon question. You kind of responded to this already, but it's from Asami Kayoka, Patreon member. Thank you for being a Patreon member, by the way. That's you guys are the best. You're really helping this podcast out, so I greatly appreciate it. But he says, Tyler, you've been a huge mentor to me and someone I take a lot of inspiration from. I was wondering if there was anyone that may have helped you out when you were first starting out, as well, who you looked up to back in the day and present. You kind of touched on that.
Yeah, I'll dive into that again because I love talking about the people I love. My mentor right away was just Mace, whether we were sledding or motoing or biking, he was always down to, if there's someone that wants to bring a bunch of flashes in the backcountry at midnight in a snowstorm, it's Mason. And he's just, with the things we get to do together are so special, whether it's work or play or fun or just shooting on spec. Mace has had my back for so long, and now that he's a dad and I'm like this sick uncle to Malone, like our relationship is even better. And mentorship is so special and so important to me because it does grow into more than just like asking questions. It turns into real friendships, and I hope one day you'll get a sled and I get to take you in the backcountry of Sami and dig your ass out. Scare you as much as Mason scared me. Holy shit, just some of the days early on following Mace, like Mace convinced me to buy a sled when I had $2,000 in my bank account. And I'm like, he's like, you should do this. Like, it'll help your career. I was like, dude, I got $2,000 in my bank account. And I'm calling my dad. I'm like, Dad, I need you to co-sign this sled for me because the bank's like, no fucking way, dude. And I bought a sled, with $2,000 in my bank account. And that winter, I got to shoot a bunch. Shouts out to Cole. They supported my winter. North Face and Jess Kimura and Ben Balak were like the goats and took me out so much. And I got to get out with the Man Boys, got to get out with Mason. And I ended up like basically paying off half my sled because of that winter. So I went from like being a little poor to like, holy shit, I got a little cheddar bisque. Like, I worked my ass off, but it worked. And Mason's just always known when the time was right for me to do something. So huge shouts out to Mason. Who I look up to in the past, like Scott Surface, without a doubt. Like, huge shouts out to Scott. I remember the week I moved to Whistler, he came to showcase for an Endeavor PK, and I was freaking out because I knew all the images he shot for the Art of Flight and with Travis, and just his body of work with Red Bull and the snowboarders he's worked with and all the images I've seen my whole life. And I got to meet him, and it was so funny. I like sent my dad a photo, but the flash went off on my iPhone, and Scott looked at me like, what the fuck are you doing? But I was internally freaking out. Like, I was so stoked to meet him early on and just immediately be a part of that Whistler community. I'm like, holy shit, I'm in the right place. Like, Scott lives here. Like, these athletes are here. And, that I really looked up to Scott when I was a kid. And I looked up to UC a ton. I remember going to the Ski and Snowboard Festival and watching UC's slideshow, and just like what we were talking about, like the action shots were sick, but it was those portraits and those real intimate moments that he curated with people that drew me in and inspired the hell out of me. And I was kind of telling you about this before we started, but sitting in an excavator in my old life, digging fucking sanitary holes listening to podcasts with Scott Surface and UC and Mason and the Blatts and Blottos, and just wondering how the fuck I'm going to get out of this excavator and like make this a career. And those guys paved the way by sharing knowledge on podcasts and you know, inspiring the heck out of me and showing me that like it's not just the banger image, it's the story along the way. And I think like people I look up to now are the same people I always looked up to. You know, Mace is such an inspiration, how he like is always pushing weird shit with drones and lights and never like shooting things in a normal way. And you know, and then I look up to all these like moto guys, like guys in Utah, like Aaron Brimhall and this guy Monty Smith in California, and how they take something that's normally quite aggressive like a moto and they shoot it in a really artistic, beautiful way, to the point where it's like you don't have to be a moto enthusiast to enjoy, you know, this media. Like you could be a normal person and be like, damn, that's a sick shot, you know? So I'm so grateful for these ways. Like, you know, print is so special to me still, and shouts out to these publications like Snowboard Journal and King Snow, and you know, like moto publications like Vana in the States have given me so many opportunities to tell stories and connect with these brands that have cultivated like a year-round way of working for me. And yeah, print is the reason I have a job right now, because I've been able to bring in brands to these print stories that have turned into lifelong clients. And it's a good example. Like I'll shoot a story for free for the Moto magazine and go somewhere cool and spend, you know, $5,000 being there and doing this shoot and this idea, but I'll bring in like Trolley Designs and for free and just show them what I can do. And then now they've been a client for like 5 years. So
Smart move.
for photographers that are like wondering how to connect the dots, like I spend a lot of money on going to places that I like and shooting what I want to shoot. You know, I self-funded a trip to Tahiti because I wanted to shoot Chopu, and I reached out to Laura, who's this like awesome Red Bull surfer, and Nate Zoller, who's this Rourke surfer out of Cali. And, you know, you just shoot your shot, slide into DMs, and have a body of work that's worth these athletes saying yes to working with you. And the more I invest in my career, the more I get out of it, because it just attracts more of those sick jobs that you might not have got before. And yeah, that's just kind of how my little puzzle has come together. Like invest in moto, invest in surf, invest in snowboarding, and then as you invest, it comes back to you.
How would you slide into a DM in a way that would be intriguing enough for a Red Bull athlete surfer who you've never met? Do you go like really long, or is it super short and to the point?
I mean, they're just people. And that's an important thing. Like athletes are just people, and time is valuable for everyone. And I value my time, and I value other people's time. So just like being a human and reaching out and being like, I was like, hey, Laura, like I'm planning on going to Tahiti. I've had this goal of shooting Chopu for no reason. I was like, you don't have to pay for any photos. You don't need to pay for shit. You don't need to, you know, I just want to go shoot there. And I want you to be like that person I want to shoot. And if you have a good body of work and they can see that you're super invested in what you do, then they'll probably reach out. But that's like a word of caution. Like, don't reach out to people or brands until you're ready, you know? Like, earn your seat at the table before asking for money, before reaching out to athletes. Like, shoot your homies first. Shoot your homies surfing, shoot your homies skating, snowboarding. Like, learn the techniques. Go out in a snowstorm before you're getting paid to go out in a snowstorm, and learn how to open your camera bag when it's dumping, how to switch lenses, how to do all these things, how to use flashes. Like, put the time in so that when the time comes for you to really perform, you know what to do.
That's really good advice, because we have a me and the whole, actually, I don't even know who came up with this. I think this was like well before my generation, but there's called like the blacklist, and it's like a list of photographers that people won't shoot with in the backcountry.
Oh my God.
And it's like I heard about it when I first started sledding. Like Arrow and Mikey had it and Devin. And it's just like, as soon as you do one kooky weird thing that's like really kooky, like you completely blow like a backcountry jump and no photos get ran on it, and it's like Arrow, Benji, and Mikey, and you're like, you're shooting the best in the world on a huge jump. You needed to find the angle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those guys only have probably 5 to 7 Bluebird stable days in a season.
Yeah.
So if they're hitting one of their biggest jumps and you don't show up, it's like you get chalked up on the blacklist.
Exactly. So
like that advice that you said is perfect. Like shoot your homies, get completely dialed. So when you get the opportunity, you over deliver rather than under deliver.
Exactly. And for a while, like I was so hesitant to charge brands because I really wanted to feel like I had all the tools needed. You know, I invested enough into my gear, but I also invested heavily into education. I took so many courses online about lighting, about building pitch decks, about reaching out to brands. I was like, I'm still learning. And if you're not investing in yourself like that, you get one chance. You get one chance to send off that first email, to shoot that first athlete. And if you blow it, you freaking blew it. And you know, first chances don't come very often. So
I've blown like,
oh shit, you know,
as being a photographer who hasn't fully moved to digital and wants to just use artifacts and relics as photography cameras, it's been an absolute nightmare because apparently just being Ollie G is really hard.
Yeah.
Like that guy, as somebody who only shoots film, I'm like, I don't know how the fuck he does it. Like,
well, because he spent so much fucking time and money and energy.
He's a wizard.
Like, he knows the camera is like an extension of his brain at this point. And like, you know, obviously if it's film, you're still going to biff some shots, but that Ollie G, shouts out to him, like another huge inspiration growing up and still is, because he's always trying to do things different and still is. And yeah, just he's put in the time and the effort, and you could basically blindfold him and say the rider's like 40 feet away, set your focus, and I bet he'd be able to pull focus on his film camera without even looking. Like you just know your tools so intimately well. Like just like if you're a carpenter, if you're a mechanic, you got to know your tools inside and out. And if the light's bad, you got to be able to create light. And if the light's harsh, you need to know how to shoot into it. And very rarely, like, yeah, anyone can shoot a good photo at sunset, but are you going to shoot a good photo when the light's shit? Like, what can you do when the light's bad is what separates someone from being a good photographer and someone that's a freaking professional.
You nailed it there, big time. And there's I like seeing on the interweb some of these people like Ian Reuter fucking frames out of metal and stuff like that. And I don't even
just different ways of exposing on different materials.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah,
I don't even know what he's doing. It's just like when the photo comes out and it's like printed onto a piece of metal, I'm like, well, whatever you're doing, you're really doing some cool things there, Ian. Like, way to go.
I mean, photography is so sick. Like, people always ask why I don't do video, and I think it's like we've said before, still image can really can tell a whole story.
That one of Mark Morissette there, just the ollie through the trees.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, that's photo for me makes you want to go snowboard. And it's
Exactly.
one frame.
And that's all it takes. Like, yeah, just, I respect the video guys, but I think these days you need to be hypercritical and really like find your niche is good, because if you try to be too much, then you're not going to be the best at one thing. Like, I like action and adventure, and within those things I like surf, skate, snow, you know, and I shoot a lot of snowboarding. Skiing's cool, but I shoot mostly snowboarders.
How much money have you spent on camera gear?
Oh yeah, so recently I had to like make a carnet. So to do that, you get all your VINs and calculate the cost of all your things. And I've spent about $85,000 in the last 3 years on camera gear.
Okay, here's that's insane, by the way. Holy shit, that's a down payment on a house. Well, maybe not around here, but anywhere else in the world. What kind of hard drives do you use to back up all this stuff? And specific, because I feel like lots of people right now, you back up your GoPro, you back up the photos on your iPhone or whatever. you need to pick a good hard drive.
Yeah.
Like, what are you using?
I mean, I still have like one of those big raids like that have the 2 hard drives on it that you back up onto, but spinning discs freak me out these days. So I've been, for photographers and filmers out there, like solid states are becoming a lot more affordable, and I'm running the Samsung T7s.
What's this?
Oh, those are the worst. I hate to tell you, those get corrupt constantly. There's that's why they're so cheap online. So be careful. You want to double, triple. For those listening, Jody's holding a sketchy SanDisk solid state drive. So hopefully this isn't being recorded to that. But
It is.
Godspeed. We might need to do this again just in case. But yeah, double and triple back shit up because you never know what's gonna happen. And this one photographer I really look up to, Mark in the States, he lost all of his work in a forest fire. His house burned down. And it's a good reminder, I have a storage container, throw back up this massive drive with all your shit and then just put it in your storage container, separate things out a little bit.
Can you hit me on the brand again?
It's Samsung T7s are great.
Samsung T7. Okay, yeah, we're going to do that. Hopefully this podcast comes out because I've been recording it on the SanDisk Extreme.
Yeah, those are sus. Those are sus.
I didn't know, dude.
Reach out. Anyone has tech questions. I love tech. And yeah, like I said, don't be afraid to invest in yourself and be able to, I love investing in myself more than the stock market because the ROI on investing on me is 10 times more than I've ever had in stocks. So.
Damn. That's a cool, I like that quote.
Yeah.
Because if you invest in good camera gear and stuff like that, it's kind of like buying a red camera. It's I feel like a lot of filmers at one point, I don't feel like it's as necessary right now, but there was definitely an 8-year period where if you had a red camera and you lived in the sea to sky, you were getting jobs that nobody else could get, and they were big money.
Yeah.
Just because you had the tool. But now I think people are I don't know. Man, some jobs are hey, can you bring your dad's old handy cam and we're going to film it on, a mini disc.
Oh, yeah.
And you're this is we're filming an Arc'teryx commercial on this? You're what?
I know.
Or whatever.
It's so funny, but yeah.
And sometimes they want the red dragon, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jesus.
I know. The industry's interesting right now. Some jobs, they'll understand the value that you spent $80,000 on camera gear, and then you spent another $25,000 on a sled, and then another $20,000 on motorcycles and bikes and a truck. And I've invested everything I've made back into my business, and it's nice to work with people that really understand that the difference between someone that just buys a camera and a professional photographer is that I'm not just investing in camera gear. I'm investing in first aid courses. I'm investing in tools to get me further and deeper out there with the right people. I'm investing in light to manipulate light when light is bad. And, there's so much that goes into making this work. And it's just really special when you can connect with athletes and brands and people that see the value that you bring and how much you've invested into it, because it's so much more than just oh, I bought a camera and a lens. You got to fucking really know what you're doing these days. Yeah.
And professional photographers that are the best that people keep using, like a lot of the people you named, UC Grisnar, Aaron Blatt, get reused for a reason because they clearly can bring to light and bring that vision to, reality.
And then the more that you kind of dive into your own personal style, all these photographers have their personal style, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job developing my own. And then the brands that kind of reach out to you, you can tell they're hiring you because they like your vision. They like how you tell stories, or you're so good at what you do that they have that trust that you can create their vision as well, because you're not just you don't just shoot commercials. You can shoot film, or you can shoot grainy, or you can bring flashes, and, don't be afraid to experiment. Within f-stops and shutter speeds and ISOs, you can do so much weird shit. And it seems so simple on paper, but once you start dissecting these numbers and these things on these cameras, the options are really endless. And I think I'll never be done chasing that dragon of finding new ways to shoot and new ways to make people feel comfortable, and how to make someone laugh and then shoot that moment right after. And you want to be a good photographer, make someone feel comfortable and and loved and cared for, and like you're not extracting something from them. I like to think of it like a dance, like you're dancing with someone, and when you have your camera in your hands, it's like this beautiful back and forth of a little bit of like talk and laughter and lightness, so that you can create that moment. Or if it's serious, like leaning into that, reading the room, and like respecting that person you're with. And you're with, if you're with like an old dog moto dude, you're not gonna be like
In their face with a fisheye and a flash.
Totally. Like show a little respect and just like move through it in a really fun, soft way. And
Jamie Lynn, what's up? And you have 14 flashes in his face. He's like, dude, like,
exactly.
Come on, read the room.
Yeah.
Like, reading the room's a good tip for any situation.
Yeah, whether you're a snowboarder or creative or in anything, just like, just come in a little cautiously and just with no ego, and just let things unfold as they unfold.
What makes a brand or a client amazing / a nightmare to work for?
Honestly, I've been so lucky. Like in the 5 years that my, professional career has really like exploded, I've never once had someone email me being like, this isn't what we need. Can you redo this? Or we need to reshoot, which is, I don't know, so lucky. But I also think maybe a testament to my commitment to being ready for the big leagues, like putting my time in before I started reaching out to these people. And I've had like no nightmare scenarios ever. Like generally I kind of manifest my clients to be my friends, and these production companies are my friends, and we're all just communities. And when they get to hire me, it's like my homies hiring me. I'm going to do such a good job that they look like they're going to get every job from here on out, if possible, and whether it's a production company or a brand, the real reason I like doing this is because I want to be friends with them. I want to shoot I got to shoot this Oakley commercial in California when we got to go moto in the dunes out there, and everyone from Oakley, they're just my homies, and it's so fun, and they treat me so good, and I want to produce the best image for them that I possibly can, because I know, they're not just my client, but they're my friends at the end of the day as well. And that's what makes a client special to me, is once we get to transcend that photographer client kind of relationship into like real life shit. I know their kids, I know their wife, I know what's going on. They're moving to Oregon, and they're I like the real shit. Relationships are the reason why I love photography so much, because it's a catalyst to meeting people. It's a catalyst to go to new places. It's a catalyst to break down these barriers and get to really know someone on an intimate level. And it's so much more than just like a camera.
Yeah, I mean, once you start shooting as much as I have, you really know that you can let a lot of people down.
I mean, yeah. I've had no bad experiences, honestly.
I'll be on a roll for like 2 years, and then one time I'll just look at my entire roll and be like, I don't know what happened. I don't understand f-stops or shutter speed, and I'm just going to bury my head in the snow and never shoot again.
But then that's why I'm there behind you.
Yeah. But you started shooting when you said you were like a young teenager. I started shooting when I was like 25.
Yeah.
I'm probably where you were at when you were like 19. And it's just like, you're pointing and praying at that time. You're biting people's style still,
But that's how you get good, and that everyone imitates early on. And for anyone listening, that's like, fuck, I do that. Like, it's okay. I imitated early on.
We all wanted to look like Devin and JP.
Dude,
it's like, come on,
straight up. And that's how you learn pretty quick. Like, if you have a style that you want to achieve and you're trying to copy that, and you get to that point, like so much so that you understand that style of photography intimately, then you can start to build from there. You got to have some building blocks to go off of first. So don't be too hard on yourself, buddy. You're getting there.
Trying. You've shot a lot of moto, surfing, snowboarding, like we were talking about, skateboarding. What's your favorite community and culture to hang out with, to shoot?
I mean, like, I think I'll do this in seasons, but in winter, snowboarding, because first and foremost, like I've said, that community has given me everything from close friends to travel experiences to just a way for me to still connect with my dad. And the snowboard community, it's like so fun. You know, you're in the backcountry and like a few days ago, the light's bad and we're just like all hanging, catching up, hearing about what's new. You got a busted rib and we're still out laughing, having a good time. And that, you know, the community of snowboarding, I really feel has my back, and I try to give back to it as much as I can. And I wouldn't be here without it. So the snowboard community is really fun. And then a newer community that I found later in life, I didn't grow up riding motos. A lot of people think because I just love that shit that I did, but I bought my first moto when I was 20. And that community is sick, really inclusive, really fun, very eclectic, like very unique people with all weird stories. And it's been really fun to connect with people all around the world. And with moto, it's kind of fun. I slide into people's DMs that I want to shoot with constantly. Like I wanted to go to Utah and shoot some crazy moto shit. And I just slid into these, I kind of like scoured Instagram for Utah's kind of best undiscovered talents. And I found these dudes, Braxton and Jacob and Braden, and like they're so sick, but fly under the radar. And I was just like, hey, listen, I know it's the middle of summer. I got 2 weeks off. I know Utah is like the worst time to possibly go, but I want to come shoot you guys. I'll drive 18 hours tomorrow, meet you at this zone, and like let's shoot in the morning before like 9 a.m. and right at sunset, and it'll be special, I promise. And these dudes drove all around Utah and even Washington to meet me and gave that trust in me, and I was able to shoot my favorite moto stuff by far. And that community is just insane. They all showed up with their massive rigs, and the boys are a little redneck, and I'm just like, holy shit, this is dope. They're like, it's nighttime. They're jumping their pit bikes over the bonfire, and I'm just like, this is sick. Like, because of this camera and because of these things with two wheels, I'm like able to break these barriers instantly with these people, and I'm now their homie. Like, what other way in life would that ever unfold? And so yeah, the moto community is fun as fuck. It can be super professional or as redneck as you think. And
I'm here for it.
Dude,
the more redneck,
so
the better.
They're pouring beer. They're like on the rev limiter on their motos, pouring beer into the air. And like, I'm just like, dude, these guys are sick. So shouts out to those dudes. Shouts out to anyone that like I reach out to that meet me on a whim and now we're friends. Like, that's the real shit. That's the shit I really appreciate.
I really like throughout this podcast just the hustle that you have. And I think that's what really separates you from other people, is that we haven't really talked about it that much, but you clearly are willing to put in the work and separate yourself from the herd by being like, I'll drive 18 hours to shoot you guys tomorrow. Oh, and people are probably like, what? Is this guy joking?
Dude, yeah, they're like, you're going to split it up? I'm like, no, I want to be there for sunset, so I'm going to leave at like 2 a.m. I'm going to stop twice only to get gas, and I'll see you there. And I showed up on time, and we're shooting sunset that day, like, and I spent my own money on that trip. I didn't get anyone to sponsor that shit. Because so many times in life, you could just be waiting for like people to give you some money to do shit. And if it's like, if you want it bad enough, invest in it, Like, I wanted to be a moto photographer, and I spent tens of thousands of dollars shooting moto stuff first before I ever got paid to shoot it.
I really like that. Like, invest in yourself, work hard, like all of these things that people know. But I think that all humans are hardwired to try and take the path of least resistance, but it's as soon as you don't do that you actually start going in the right direction.
Yeah. When you're uncomfortable, that's where that growth is, And no one ever became the best at what they did by living a mediocre, chill life. Take chances, invest in yourself, be uncomfortable, because in a year from now, you'll look back at those uncomfortable nights of like, I had a shitty tent that I set up in the desert while we were shooting that moto stuff in Utah, and every night there would be like inches of sand on me and my camera gear. I didn't give a shit, like, just go do the thing. It's way more important for me to like go have those shots and worry about getting things funded or being super comfortable.
And did those shots land anywhere?
Dude, they landed in Red Bull Illume, like which is a huge photo contest. It landed in like even the snowboard magazine was running my moto photos. These photos ended up everywhere, and like, yeah. And because of that, it opened up so many doors, and these brands are able to see, holy shit, this guy doesn't just shoot one style, you know? I always wanted to be a year-round photographer. You know, some photographers are like, I'm just like a ski and snowboard photographer, and I work for half the year. And I'm like, what fun is that? Like, I want to do the same shit I do in the winter and the summer. I want to ride motos and bikes to dope places and go surf in places, you know, that nobody really get to see from my perspective, and document that shit. Like, I can't wait to be old and look back at my journal and my photos and the dates and just look at all those feelings and those memories. And yeah, it's going to be insane. I'm so grateful for this ride so far, and the people I've met, and, you know, anyone that's listening that I've shot with, like, thank you. It's like, I feel so privileged, you know, a little soul stealer basically. And I feel so grateful for the collection of like souls I've been able to shoot, and all the opportunities. And yeah, it's just, I think we're just getting started really. Like, I'm feeling like I'm just finding my stride, and it took me about a year to get back on my feet after losing my dad. And now it's like gas is on the pedal. This summer I'm riding motos, and we're doing 2 Mexico trips. We're going to Mongolia. We're going to India. I've like put all these trips together that are now funded because I've put that time in. And I'm just really grateful for that.
Yeah, I really hope that all those people that are listening to this right now, whether they're snowboarding or moto or an up-and-coming filmer or photographer, just realize that, like, there ain't no free fucking lunches.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
people just sit around and wait for their DM to have, like, you know, Oakley or the North Face or Red Bull or Vans or whoever just slide in and be like, hey, we like your photos. We want to bring you on our next skate trip to go and shoot. It's like, no, that's not going to probably, I mean, maybe that'll happen. But the odds of you reaching out with actually a good pitch deck and integrating yourself in those communities in a tasteful, non-keen, annoying way.
That's it.
Like, that's where the opportunity is going to come.
Dude, you just said it best, but a tasteful, non-keen way. Don't try to force things. Don't try to force relationships. Do it for the right reasons, because you like the man boys and you want to hang with them. And you know, I reached out to Jess in the Brandywine parking lot and was like, hey, I'm a huge fan of yours. Like, you know, it's COVID. A bunch of photographers can't come up. Like, would you want to shoot with me? And I hit her up because I like, you know, I remember being in high school watching her Defenders of Awesome part and be like, Jess is fucking sick. Like, hopefully one day I get to shoot with her and become friends with her. And now we're really good friends, and do it for the right reasons. Don't be annoying. Like,
It's great advice, man. Seriously.
yeah.
There's a way to be hardworking, and then there's a way for you to branch into the keen, annoying person. And it's like you can get away with that when you're young, in your teens, even early 20s. Like, people get it. You know what I mean? You're frothing. You're at this event maybe, and you're just super keen. It's like, I've been that person. You know what I mean? Like, you just moved to Whistler and you start getting these opportunities. But at one point, you need to go from keen to just like, I'm just hardworking and I show up on time, and you're back to reading the room. You know what I mean? Like, if you're the new photographer in the group and you're going to go shoot McMo and whoever, Ben Ferg and Mickle and Mikey for the day, and they're chilling on their sleds, don't be the one being like, hey, you guys should hit something. You guys should do something today.
Totally.
It's like, read the room.
Yeah.
If Mikey Rentz doesn't want to snowboard and he wants to say some jokes on his snowmobile, jump on your snowmobile
Yeah.
and listen to the fucking jokes.
Exactly. And, you know, I don't know who needs to hear this, but you really want to build trust with athletes. I know some photographers that have like, are so compelled to get a shot that they'll send people off of anything. And an important thing for me is because for me, the respect for snowboarding and moto and biking, I do all these things. I only shoot the things that I do and do well because I have that respect for the athletes, that I want to have those intimate conversations of trust, knowing like if I'm on the radio saying, hey, this goes, that they're not going to land and knee themselves in the face, you know? And if you want to shoot something, I think you better know it like the back of your hand. And some people might disagree with that, but I want to build that trust with the athletes first, because the athletes are the ones that choose like who they work with when it comes to these brands campaigns. So the brand might love you, but if an athlete's like, dude, Tyler put me on this cliff and I need myself in the face and I lost 2 teeth, like that's not going to go. So it comes back to like not being annoying and like just building trust. And that's always been really important for me, is like putting the athlete first and going from there.
Well, trust is huge. Being an athlete and being on the opposite end of you, when I'm on the mic and I jump on the radio and you're down there and you're like, hey, you should hit the cliff again. Go 2 feet to rider's left and there's a pocket there. And I'm imagining in every single action sports, there's a way to clearly communicate with those riders. And if you don't understand that language and that dialogue, it's hard to communicate with them. And if you kook out and go with some moto dudes and use the wrong lingo and send them off a cliff and they knee themselves and they're like, what the fuck is up with this dude?
Exactly.
So like I love having that relationship with a photographer where if he goes, hey, this photo is worth it. You should do that front 3 again. I just moved 2 feet to the left. You're going to be perfectly in the blue. It's going to be epic. If you go 2 feet to the left, if you're comfortable with that, like give it another go. And then it's like up to you, but you know that if you do it better, there's a real opportunity for a banging photo.
Yeah.
I'm about it. I'm like, I'll hit it again. But there's nothing worse than hitting something 3, 4 more times and they're still trying to figure it out. And then at one point you're like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah,
like I've hit this enough. Like you should have gotten it now.
It's like, I have my job, you have your job. I get it. Like sometimes you got to take a try or two, but like generally I have a way in shooting that for the first shot, especially like Rasman's thing a few days ago that we shot, like I took a little bit of a risk, but I shot it a little bit wider because I know Rasman goes big and I know if he's going big, I don't want him to be like maxing out the frame and then it looks like shit, like shoot a little wide and really like ease into things and make sure you're not going to like mess up. That's kind of, maybe shoot at f5.6 instead of 2.8 first and like figure out that rotation and ask the athletes like, hey, what grab are you doing? What spin are you doing? Like athletes love when you understand the sport so well and you could say, hey, that cab 5 you're doing isn't really working. Let's go like front 7 tail. This is going to look sick. I love when like athletes and photographers can bounce off each other. And when an athlete's like, hey, I was sitting around and I found this angle over here. Do you want to scope it out? I'm all yours for that. Like it's a collaborative thing. There's so much trust on both ends. And it's sick when you're working with people that are also creative and understand what you're trying to achieve. And it's a dance. Like let's all move together and like end up with the dopest product possible.
I definitely like when you have when you're working on something kind of mellow to milk out the day because there's not a lot of options. I love when I'm working with like a Chad Chomlak who's willing to be like, hey, we're going to try some shit here and I don't know if this is going to work out. And you're like, I'm down for that shit. Totally. But there's a time and a place to experiment, and then there's a time and a place to be like, hey, I'm hitting a 60-foot step down right now, and I'm going to do a front 3 Indy, and we need to get this because if I land, I'm not going to go back up.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Once again, reading the room and just understanding, the risk to reward. If someone's really risking their life, like you better make sure that focus is dialed.
Totally. When you say ready, when they're like drop, and you're like, I'm ready. We got a Patreon question from Garrett Baker that says, what's your process for finding the angle? Does the trick of a rider change anything?
Yeah, I think the process is looking at the environment first. And I love shadows and I love light first and foremost. So before I even think of what an athlete is doing trick-wise, I'm looking at where the shadows are pointing. If they're going to battle this trick, where the sun's going to move, and potentially where I'm going to have a backup angle. And what's great about shooting from motorized vehicles like dirt bikes and snowmobiles is you can canvas a huge area really quick. And I've got a little bit of a tip that works really well for me, but I take my iPhone and I take photos on my iPhone from all these angles so that I can quickly swipe through them. And when I ask the rider what trick they're doing first, I know which angle is going to work best, and I have a direct reference from my phone to go back on, because sometimes on your camera, like you can't pick and pull apart pixels like you can on your phone. You know, you can really pinch and zoom on your phone. So I use that as a huge tool in the backcountry to like have everything in my bag, from a fisheye to like a 600 millimeter lens. So I could either shoot really wide, or I can go a kilometer away so far that you don't see me, be on the radio and nail this like really weird compressed shot. And my process initially is just to rip around on my sled as much as I can to not disturb the feature, for sure, like have no tracks in the feature, but really look at shooting backlit, shooting far away, shooting close. If I'm shooting close, am I going to get the rider's face? If I'm shooting far away, am I going to get like, am I going to lose them in the trees or the mountains? And just constantly thinking in my head, like, what's going to be the best bang for my buck here? And what's going to be different than what someone else has done?
Totally.
So I think for me, being prepared, having all these different lenses and these vehicles to really explore different zones, and not being afraid to ask the rider what they think too. You know, like they might be an athlete, but a lot of these guys are creative as heck too. And ask, hey, how do you want to be seen in this? Do your sponsors need like a logo photo? Okay, so I'm not going to shoot 2 kilometers away. Then like I'll shoot a little bit closer and they're like, oh, I'm doing an indie. Maybe you want to shoot it from this spot. You're like, hell yeah, dude, you just made my life easier. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Lose the ego and ask athletes questions, because they want to look the best that they can too.
I mean, there's definitely something to be said about communication between you and the photographer and filmer, so you're all kind of on the same wavelength and page. From my experience, if you didn't do a good job of communicating what you're going to do with the filmer and the photographer, you might as well just have not done anything.
Yeah.
Because the photographer is going to be like, I had no idea you were going into that pocket. Like, slow down, throw a couple snowballs, make sure they're lined up, get on the radio, clear communication between all parties, whether it's in the backcountry or in the streets. Like, if you're trying to do some cool shifty into some bank, the amount of times that the photographer in their head digested what you had just said differently happens all the time. So I love take the photo on the iPhone and then with a line, like a green marker, just draw like what you're planning to do. So at least the filmer and the photographer have a good general idea of where you're going to be the whole time. So you're at least in frame.
Exactly. And I mean, communication is huge in any relationship, whether you're shooting or with your girlfriend or with your family. Like, the more you can communicate, the more everyone's going to feel better about the situation. And it's like, yeah, it's probably good to let that bleed into like your relationships, your family, your friends, your everyday life, your business ethics. Like, just the more you communicate, the better everything's going to be.
Communication is very important. And another thing that's important is going to the Scandinavian spa. So for coming on the show today, Tyler, we have a spa pass for you. It's a bath pass.
Great.
So
really
I don't know if you've
sick.
ever been, but you can go de-stress before your next shoot and stretch and clear your head in the hot, cold eucalyptus world, and just get ready for the next day. So.
Man, I love to bring a book and a trigger point ball, and I just like put the trigger point on my butt and read on a bench at the spa, and it's like, you want to feel refreshed? That's how you do it. So shouts out, guys. Thanks for that.
So you've been before?
Oh yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I got to bring Mary probably on this one.
We might be able to work something out. We'll see.
Yeah.
See what photos you get published in this year.
Yeah, exactly.
So far, you're looking at a taco over the front of a sled.
Yeah.
Yeah, not my best. I flipped over the sled the other day. I was so excited to get to the top of the mountain. I flipped over my handlebars and I hit my chest on the bars or something, or on my camera, and then that's been my season. I feel like that summarized my season. But back to what you were saying earlier about bringing those good vibes, I'm hanging out. You come over to me, you help me get my sled situation sorted, you help me get up onto like a nice zone so I can hang out with everybody. I'm like, the whole time, I'm just like, it's a pleasure to have this guy out. He's just fun. It's just
I checked your ribs. I made sure your ribs weren't poking out your skin, you know?
It's true, you did. For 1 second there, I was like, fuck, maybe? Like, it was, you know what I
Dude,
mean? Like,
yeah, it hurts sometimes, you know?
Yeah, it hurts to breathe. So the worst is coughing. Laughing I can handle, but if I have to sneeze or
when you
cough.
sneezed out there, I was like, I could feel that through the snow, just how much that hurt.
I'm a first timer on the bruised ribs. It's first time and it's really frustrating and there's nothing you can do. And but then you see, like, I'm looking at my phone today and you got Elias Elhart's like absolutely broken foot, and then Mark Mix got the fucking eye thing, and you're like, dude, we're all
you're okay.
I'm like, I'll be all right.
Yeah, I know.
Mark's like, I just got facial construction.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, maybe bruised ribs isn't. Well, I mean, he seems to be healing up faster than me, but you know, that Red Bull money can heal pretty much anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's pretty much a robot right now. All right, here we're moving on. We got okay, so there's a lot more to being a great snowboarder, skateboarder, moto guy. Is that what they call them, moto dudes? What's the lingo there?
I don't even know.
Dirt bike head, moto head.
Yeah, I like a moto head.
Moto head sounds dope. Well, there's a lot more to just being like a good athlete, especially when you're shooting with a photographer. You need to understand that there's a way to get the shot. And young kids often just go like, if I jump off X and the photographer's here, it should all work out for me. Who are some of the best athletes that you've worked with that just understand how to get the shot?
Dude, that's a good one. That's a really sick question, actually. Initially, Mark Solers is a bit of a beast, you know, and I was like super lucky to get out with him, especially for ARC. And you know, like that whole project, getting to go out because of Blotto calling you, you're just like, yeah. Mark is really a professional, and he is quite creative, and understands, because he's been doing it for so long, working with amazing photographers and filmers constantly, that he understands what goes into getting that shot. And he's constantly, while he's looking for features to jump off of, like, he's also thinking about which angle is going to make this look the best. And that's been really sick. Rasman, same thing. Like, when he eyes something up, you know he's gonna go pretty psycho. And when he's telling you like, hey, I think we should shoot it here like this, like having that trust with him, I know he's gonna like nail it. In mountain biking, my really good friend Brett Reeder, he's like as creative as they come as an athlete. He's got a Leica too, and he loves shooting just as much as I do, and he's just as invested as getting a still as getting the motion clip, which is really cool. So from the bike scene, like, Brett's insane. Who else in the winter? Like, Jess Kimura, really dialed. Like, Jess and Ben understand what it takes to like make a video part, work together, have the video and photo guys like collaborate on angles constantly and not battle each other. It can be so easy for a photographer to always be in the video guy's way, and you know, having those guys communicate through, you know, how they want to be seen. Like, it's been so fun getting to grow with them too. So
I definitely like when the photographer doesn't give a fuck if the filmer is in the frame, because I like when the filmer is like, especially in the rails.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. If the fisheye filmer is like in, there always used to be, for me growing up, it was like you would get the clip with the fisheye filmer in the photo, and then the photographer would be like, "Can you get the back clip again now without the filmer?" And it's like, as long as your filmer doesn't look like a goof and he doesn't have some whack ass film
we're
stance,
all black,
like, you know,
exactly,
or like wear the like Brockle used to wear like some loud shit, but I kind of liked it. It like adds to the photo, and it's like
tells more of a story, right?
Totally. Like, obviously, like for those big lines, you know what I mean? If someone's doing like Jake Blavelt's riding down the hill and he's doing some, like, there's not going to be a filmer on the mountain because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But if you're stacking up a wedge and you want to get a back seven and you want the filmer to be like standing under it so you can get the fisheye shot, and you're good pokes with the filmer under it, I'm down. I like it, you know?
For whatever reason, though, I think it can only go one way. I think it's okay for the filmer to be in the shot, but filmers hate when photographers are in the shot.
I think that's annoying either way. I like it. It's just, this is the moment. You
I
know,
know.
calm down.
I know. I think these days, like, people are just caring less, which is good.
It is
you
true.
know? And like, if a brand is like, oh, we really need that filmer out of the shot, welcome to AI, motherfucker. You're gone in 2 seconds.
You really need to be 10 feet higher.
Yeah, you know, it's so easy. Like, we have so many tools in our belt that everyone should just be having fun out there. And all the projects I've worked on for years now, there's always a filmer. And if you're like annoying to the filmer, you're not going to get invited back. So just be like, just be fun, you know? And Rusty, the other day, for instance, like, I had my angle kind of picked out, and then I got my shot, and he's on the radio. I was like, Ty, I think you should come check this out if Raz is going to hit this again. Sure enough, I go down to Rusty, and that angle's psycho. And when the filmers are on your team, like, they're helping you out as well, you know?
Yeah, it should be a big old win-win situation out there.
Exactly. And that's how I operate. Like, we're all just on the same team. There's no bad blood.
Okay, you've shot pretty much every pro at this point, or a lot of the best. There's a Mark McMorris photo that comes to my head. I don't know what he's doing in it, but he's wearing a blue jacket. One of my favorite frames.
I think it was like a natty
gotten.
back 7.
You've shot a lot. Was there any rider specifically that you were super like starstruck? You're like, oh my God, I'm shooting with Kazu Kokobo.
No, dude. I will say, Kazu, I was like pretty chill about. Jeremy Jones, I was tripping because I was on that like 2-week camp trip with him. And I'm like texting my dad from the InReach being like, holy fuck, dude, like, this is crazy. I just climbed this mountain with Jeremy Jones, and like, I didn't tell Jeremy I was shitting my pants. Like, I'm just like trying to act cool and get my photos. But meanwhile, I'm like the most gripped I've ever been in my life, shooting like the biggest legend. And he's like, I kind of like an ice bridge collapsed, and I was kind of like hanging there. And Jeremy's got his iPhone out, like taking photos of me. And I'm just like, what is going on? I'm just with the biggest legend. And Kazu, for sure, we were at like, shouts out to Cole and Union for like getting that trip together. So lucky to shoot with such an amazing person. And like, riding aside, he took us to like his favorite restaurants and his favorite zones, and was such an epic host. But our first breakfast at this like weird onsen hotel, he walked in, and the energy just changes. And I was like, I was a little nervous at first, but a guy like that is just so kind and cool, and you just realize he's a human too, and he just wants to have fun. And he took us out to some really special places, and had some. My favorite part of that trip was just going to dinner with him and having him order all of our food, and go to these hole in the walls where we would have never found. No one speaks English, obviously, and yeah, like, once again, how in the world would I ever get to hang with Kazu if it wasn't for a camera? And how would I end up on a glacier with Jeremy Jones in the middle of the Yukon-Alaska border? And how would I have these friends that I have now? Like, yeah, they're pro snowboarders, but they're my friends now. Like, it's really special, just the things that a camera can bring you.
Top 3 photos. It just, maybe not your favorite ever, because I feel like that'll be impossible, other than the photo of your dad's, obviously, the GOAT photo you've ever taken. But, you know, maybe 3 frames that you're really proud of, and any sort of story to go along with that.
I think I'll go like a snowboard, a surf, and a moto. I'll start with the moto first. We're at Swing Arm City, like a classic Utah zone that I've seen all my favorite photographers shoot at. And I think something that I have different than a lot of other, you know, photographers maybe down there is like, I had like an 800 mil lens, like a big fatty lens. And I was able to shoot this thing that's been shot a lot, like this classic Ken Block shark fin. But I shot it in the middle of summer when the winds were crazy, when the dust was psycho, and I had like 10 riders show up for me. And I got to get some really unique images there. And there's one in particular that like really kind of staked my name in the moto scene that I'm forever grateful for. And it was super organic. We were just out riding bikes, having fun. Like, I had one long lens in my bag, kind of hoping to shoot this one photo. And sure enough, like, the light was perfect. We were getting these beams. The dust was flying. The wind was insane, and the riders killed it. And this guy, Jacob, is right at the top of this fin. Like, it's a death drop on the end, and he's like airing off the top of it, and the wind's blowing his roost in the air, and the golden light is perfect. And I was like, wow. And then there was this shot in Tahiti that I've always wanted to get. I went to Chopu this fall on the anniversary of my dad's crash I was like, I'm not going to be sad this week. I'm going to do something that he would be so unbelievably proud of, like something where I'm pushing my limits of photography, pushing my physical limits, my mental limits. And I went to Chopu on a 3-meter swell to meet up with Laura and Nate. And I had this vision of me shooting Chopu. It's been shot like this before, but I shot it really wide in the water underneath the wave. And with these guys, I was able to get the dream shot that I've always wanted of like the crystal blue water, the super shallow reef, and the rider getting barreled and their fins coming through the wave and their shadow, and they're like dragging their hand on the top of the water. And I remember being in the water and watching this unfold and just hoping, okay, I hope I nailed my focus and everything. And later that day, I got a little greedy. I actually got swept over the falls at Chopu. I'm wearing a helmet, thank goodness. But I hit the bottom of Chopu. Like, how many Canadian photographers can say they went over the falls at Chopu? Like, dude, that was humbling as shit. Somehow I got...
Obviously, the Canadian photographer is going to get bodied at Chopu.
Yeah, dude. And I'm just like...
They're like, that's the Canadian guy. Everyone's like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, dude, I got greedy. It was like day 5, and I'm like feeling pretty good in the water.
He's wearing a Vancouver Canucks jersey.
Yeah, I'm wearing like not even a proper like surf helmet. I'm wearing like a sandbox wakeboard helmet is all I could get before this trip.
Was it the beak one?
No, basically, yeah. And
that would be hilarious.
And I went over the falls, and the surfers were like, because the way the wave bends, they could see me the whole time. They just saw my camera, woof, out of the wave, and then my body and my fins just going backwards off this thing. And but I didn't really give a shit. I knew I nailed that shot earlier in the day, and that was a.
Were you holding your camera as you were going over the falls?
Oh yeah.
Like clenched to it, like
dude,
do not let go.
Because I had that shot on that card, and I was like, if this camera hits the reef,
we're done.
We're done. That card's toast. So I was like, I'm keeping this thing safe.
You were like the guy falling with the beer, and you're like, I'm not spilling the beer.
Literally.
I'm not fucking spilling this beer.
I was like, I got a helmet on. I got this tiny little t-shirt on. I'm good. If I hit the bottom, like, this card is what matters. And I kept it safe, and thankfully didn't get dragged across the reef, like hit the bottom. And then kind of came up. I was like, holy fuck, like that was an experience. So that's like shot number 2 that I've always wanted to get. And then I think like the snowboard shot that I'm most proud of, and it always changes because I shoot a lot of snowboarding, and I'm trying to think of like that one moment that really stands out. But right now I think it's going to be my cover shot with you, honestly. Like, it's the essence of why I love shooting snowboarding. It's art, and your style is art. That light, that silhouette, the way the snow is like falling down the mountain, the backlit aspect.
Hit him up for camera 3 here.
Yeah.
Just
so, and if you're listening
context
to this, go buy a snowboard journal and get this photo because it's gonna be worth a lot one day. But yeah, I think like that's my first big cover. It's your first, and like. That memory of shooting it that day and having so much fun, just shit talking with you and Rusty, being like literally on the radio, hey, sorry boys, Jody can't come help dig, like we're shooting a cover. And then sure as shit, to get a cover is just icing on top. So it's a good reminder that a good photo you don't have to, go 100 feet, like compose a good angle, work with the right rider, work with the right light, and you can end up with a cover.
I mean, some of the best photos of all time are nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it can be as simple as a rider doing a turn, a skateboarder doing a push. You know what I mean? Like there's so much beauty in simplicity that every single person, no matter where they're at in that journey of, let's say, snowboarding specifically, whether they're a beginner, intermediate, advanced, or pro, can look at that and go like, that makes me like want to go snowboarding. Totally. And that can be like, that's why a slash or you just bombing down the hill or doing an ollie is so timeless, because it appeals to everybody.
Yeah. Actually, I've got one moment that does really stand out.
A sequence of a quad cork.
Yeah. There was last season I spent a lot of time with Robin Van Gyn and Spencer O'Brien and Elena Height. They were filming for like an Arc'teryx movie, and we spent like 3 weeks shooting together in Whistler, and they were getting ready to go to Alaska. And every year I kind of have this like weird thing where I set a goal for myself, and if I don't meet that goal, I have to drink my pee. It's like I call it a piss goal. And last year my piss goal was going to Alaska to shoot. And I remember I was in the Brandywine parking lot, like the girls were talking about their trip, and I was listening, girls, like I've got this weird goal. I call it my piss goal. If I don't make it to Alaska this year, I got to drink my pee. And I was like, I don't care if I have to fund it. I don't care how I get there. I don't care how I need to do this. I want to go to Alaska and shoot spines with you. Like, they trusted me to shoot in Whistler. We got some sick shit in Whistler, and I just wanted to keep that flow going. And they were like, that's the craziest shit I've ever heard, but like, we're down. They didn't have at the time budget for a photographer, but you know, I can create opportunity for myself, and with a little help from the girls, Yeti and Gordini and Sierra Nevada, with like 2 weeks notice, basically funded enough to pay for most of my seat in a heli in Haines with Alaska heli skiing. And 2 weeks later, I'm in this bird. But I realized, and the girls are like, hey, this is Alaska. The weather rolls in. Like, what happens if you don't get that banger action shot? Do you still have to drink your pee? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. Like, it doesn't count if I'm just burning gas in this helicopter with no...
Seems like you kind of want to drink the pee.
No, I don't. And the point is, like, I got to commit to these goals because I don't want to drink my pee, you know? Like,
have you drank the pee before?
No, never.
Okay,
never.
These piss goals are amazing.
Yeah. They really motivate me. And so anyways, like 2 days go by in the heli, and we're like scouting, we're burning all this money and fuel, still no photos. And I'm like, holy shit, like, I'm a little worried at this point. Like, do I need to drink my pee? But the day of all days, we wake up, it's blue. The guides are feeling good about the stability. We're with Sage Kotzenberg and Sebe de Buck. We're sharing a heli, and we rip out to Birthday Bowl. And I'm looking at this thing, and I was like, oh, if I get a photo here, I don't need to drink my pee for sure. And Robin won the Rochambeau and got to lace this epic spine line in Birthday Bowl. And I'll never forget, like, she does this huge backside turn, and the light's epic. The spines are popping. There's no track. She's first to go. And she gets on the radio at the bottom. She's like, guess who's not drinking their piss? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I got the shot. Don't worry. Like, we're all celebrating, hooting and hollering. And that was a really special moment. I told everyone how bad I wanted to prove myself in AK and show that, like, you know, I'm worth bringing up there. I'm worth like taking the risk. And I know I've never been there, but I'll work hard when I'm up there. And that was a really funny moment.
I gotta say, man, I love the hustle that you have. It's you're not going full annoying David Goggins, you know what I mean? But you're definitely got some, like, there's some fire in you that's like, it almost seems like you're like, doubt me and I'll show you what's up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You don't think that I can go to AK and shoot a banging photo? Like, bring me, and I promise I will not let you down. Like, I have the skills, and I will show up. And then you do.
Yeah.
Where do you kind of want to take your photography? I mean, if you're so good at action sports, you're working kind of in all of them almost. Like, what's kind of your next chapter you want to do with this whole photography thing?
Yeah, that's a great... I'm constantly like thinking about that. Like I said, right now I'm kind of in the phase where I'm happy to be happy again and happy to be myself, but I am constantly still looking at the future. And I think the biggest thing, my biggest goal right now is, like, I've done the big commercials. I've made some cheddar bisque, and it's like, it's not about the money anymore. I've proven to myself that this is a viable business. I just want to continue to push my relationships and push my creativity, and I want to do it in really amazing places. And I want to continue to inspire the youth to show that, like, AI and all this shit that people are creating isn't worth it. You know, it's not real. And what makes photography and filming so special is that it's a real moment captured in time. And all AI is just, it's plagiarism of all of our hard work that's posted online. And it's just plagiarizing the light and these moments and these people, and it's not real. And what makes especially action sports photography so special is, you know, that back 7 that Mark did, AI will never be able to recreate the way his hat's like folded in the air and the way his poke is and the way the snow is flying around him. You can't create that. And, you know, I want to prove to the youth that there is a future in this, because no matter how good computers get, they'll never be able to recreate a moment that was real.
Totally. But everything in the world, hopefully not, but seems to be ran by everything major seems to be driven by money. That seems to be the main driver for all these big companies. And if it's easier and simpler to create imagery through AI, I would say at least 50% of the entire market is going to just use AI. There will be companies that are like, I'm imagining like these real hardcore outdoor companies are going to be like, no, we are hiring real humans to create real images that are really happening, that are based on reality. But there's going to be so many of these like Walmart tier companies that are just going to create AI for everything, because all they need to do is post it on the side of a billboard in New York, and nobody's going to care if it's real or fake. It's going to be, they're going to look up and go, oh, if I'm going to go snowboarding, I need to wear that kind of jacket. And they're not even going to know if it's Mick Morris or whatever like that. And it sucks because you know it's going to take up at least 50% of the market.
Totally, that's true. But, you know, at the end of the day, like,
it's going to happen with music. It's going to happen with movies.
The core people and the core brands, I'd rather have 10 core snowboarders be like, Tyler Ravelle is the sickest snowboard photographer I know, than 100 random people. And, you know, maybe business will need to be run that way and be like, we'd rather attract the demographic and the customer that knows that we invest in real people and real stories rather than these fake things, rather than, you know, the freaking Montex and shit like that, you know, the brands that invest in authentic shit. And right now we're in the phase in AI where everything goes too far and then comes back. And we haven't gone too far yet with AI, and I promise we will, and it will get crazy. But eventually people, I promise, will start being like, we want real shit again. Like, this has gone too far. It's all so fake, and it will come back into balance, and photographers and filmers will be back in boom. And it all comes in waves. We always historically go too far and then balance out, and we haven't gone too far yet, and we will. But just weather the storm and create a product that can't be reproduced. And that's why I'm continuing to like carve my path in this adventure, athletic, action sports driven photography, because no matter how hard you try, that can't be reproduced. And there's some real value to that. If I was a product photographer that just shot Pepsi cans sprayed with like a mister, I'd be shitting my pants, because hell yeah, your job is at risk, probably forever. But the real storytelling, the real moments, the real emotion, like you'll never be able to replace that. And
to be working in the action sports industry right now, you're working with brands that their brand identity is the outdoors, and the outdoors is real. And so like their marketing campaign should remain real all the way from, you know, the athletes being real athletes to the photographers being real photographers to the filmers being real filmers, and telling a real story about humans doing the unthinkable and achieving these wild goals and aspirations of being out in the mountains and doing X, Y, and Z, where when you type something into the computer, it's going to spit something out. But like you were saying, that non-reality, who does that relate to when it's just fake? It's not going to relate to the outdoors community. It's going to relate to some random person in New York that just needs a jacket that's rainproof. And unfortunately, that market is going to be so big that as long as you're not chasing the dollars and you don't care, it's just like you're a part of the real thing, and knowing that should be enough for you.
Totally.
And yeah, it's unfortunate, but everybody's trying to move into everything being more simple. That's the reason why the boom of fast food over the last 50 years has not gone down. It's only gone up, because everybody wants to just be able to eat sushi within 5 minutes anywhere they go around North America, or they want to get Mexican food or whatever they want. Amazon is immediately at your door within 2 days. It's like that whole world, although convenient, I think comes as a huge double-edged sword, and we haven't hit the other side of that sword yet, which I think is going to hit us all in the face pretty hard.
I'm a bit of a pessimist, and
Me too.
I think pessimist is good, right? Like, you have faith in the world.
No, it's optimist.
I'm an optimist. Fuck
I'm a pessimist.
You're a pessimist. I'm an optimist. Sorry.
Optimist prime.
I'm an optimist, and I think like the young generation coming up is seeing like the effects of social media and a digital life, and are really educated. And I think optimistically, I think we're gonna find a really good balance, and it's gonna be bad for a little while, but we will find balance again. And that's my optimistic. I'm not a pessimist. I'm an optimist.
I like that. I like that about you. I'm just like, I don't know. I think that I'm in the middle, but sometimes I just see how like the world is designed. Like, look at everybody on their phone. If you went on everybody's phone 7 years ago and you looked at how much screen time they had, it would probably be like 30 to 40 minutes. If you look at everybody else's phone time right now, it's like everybody's screen time is insane right now. It's anywhere from probably 2 hours a day to 7 hours a day. There's so much money in that world of AI being integrated into your phone, where that whole world is only going to become more addictive, not less addictive. And there's not millions, not even billions. At this point, there's probably trillions of dollars invested in keeping everybody more on their phones. Everyone needs to like break free from that a bit. And I think there are a lot of people that do. Like, that's the reason why you get emails from somebody like the North Face. It's like, we are going camping for 3 days. We don't have phones. Like, leave us alone. Because there are people that realize the importance of actually like turning off and going camping and not having a Wi-Fi signal and just being immersed back into what is soon going to be called real life.
Totally.
Like, at this point, it's almost like we're living in the Jetsons or whatever like that. We have a robot on hand 24/7. It feels a little bit better because we call it a phone, but it's like we all have a personalized robot that you can talk to and ask any question in the world, any mathematical question, anything really. It has every answer for everything. At least you believe every answer it gives you because you're like, it knows more than me. It's a phone. I just don't think those are going to get like shittier over time. They're just going to get better. And so then they're going to be more addictive, and it makes me scared of the world.
I kind of disagree, but we won't even dive into this. That's a whole different freaking podcast.
Did I just open a whole? Yeah, totally. Spencer Craig, another Patreon member.
Shout out Spencer.
Shout out to Spencer. He's overcoming an injury of the head. Absolutely amazing human, sled mechanic, and just overall shredder. Thanks for supporting the podcast. He's wondering, Tyler, how do you feel about social media? Has it had a negative effect with pay, publishing, etc.? Or is it easier to get noticed by brands and grow your art now?
That's a great question. And I just want to say thanks, Spence, for like always being so kind and like supportive. He's always like gassing me up, and just a really good person. And I hope your head's doing better, buddy. And stoked to see you in the backcountry and working on all our sleds sooner than later. But social media can give and take a lot. And I've made sure to have these really firm boundaries with it, where I use it as a tool to like promote myself, to create a bit of a brand around myself. I won't lie. Like, it's great for basically manifesting more of what I want. And that's what I use it as. I use it as a visual manifestation device, basically. And if I'm posting moto shit on Instagram, it's because I want more moto work, and I want that perspective of how I shoot it to be recognized by these brands and, marketing friends that follow me. And it can really detract from your life if you spend a lot of time on it, or it can really enhance and help grow your business. And it's constantly a balance of like, holy shit, I spend too much time on this. And, I set these really firm boundaries, like when I'm having dinner with my friends, no phones. And I try to not be on my phone before bed. I try to not just doom scroll, and I use it to like post and tell my stories and build my brand, but not to be like cocky, but I feel like I live a pretty exceptional life to the point where I don't necessarily need to be scrolling to see what other people are doing, because I know I'm probably having a lot of fun. And just to continue to focus on what I'm doing and what makes me happy. And yeah, it's been a huge tool, and I think a reason why I've been able to kind of exponentially grow quite fast in this time frame, because I've been able to use it to my advantage. And I freaking love social media because I can reach out to these people across the world or in the States, or these different athletes, or, you know, if you're a photographer right now, there's no right or wrong way to reach out to a brand. And sometimes if you can't get an email or a phone number, sliding to brands' DMs with a little bit of an idea and a little bit of stoke can go a long way. And I've gotten some of my biggest clients because of a DM slide. And, you know, Cole, for instance, Cole Headwear has supported me for like 5 years. And I slid into their DMs and told them a story about how Tony Lefroy gave me a bunch of Cole hats, like, you know, when I was 18 and frothing so hard, and how I still have them, and how I like to work with brands that I've, you know, trusted pretty much my whole adult life. And I love their stories and their commitment to quality and the athletes they work with. And they loved that little DM slide. And now they've been my client for like 5 years, and we're such good friends. So social media can either take away from your life or it can enhance your life. And I think you have to have those boundaries where, you know, when you're spending too much time on it and it's detracting and it's affecting your relationships, or you can use it to help grow your business, just like I've done. And hell yeah, sometimes I'm freaking bad at it and spend too much time, and then sometimes I don't go on it or post enough. But, you know, we're all just human, and we're all just trying to figure it out. And I think if you are going to be a photographer now, it'd be crazy to not utilize this free source of advertising, basically. And like I said, if I want more moto work or bike work or snow work, or if I want to work with more top tier athletes, I post about the people I'm working with and where I'm working with and how I'm working with them. And it always seems to come back to me tenfold.
I mean, like you were saying, it's just a tool. You can either use the hammer to hit nails, or you could use it to hit people. It's really up to you. You
or
know what
hit
I mean?
yourself.
Or, yeah, that's what it is. That's good. I like that. Social media is like a hammer. You can use it to hit nails or yourself. Tyler Ravelle.
Yeah. Quote it. I'm going to get that tattooed on me too.
All right. Maybe we got 10 questions here. Presented by Skull Candy. If you move that beautiful picture of your dad, you can grab a pair of those.
Dude.
The Rail Skull Candy wireless earbuds. You can grab a pair of those. And shout outs to Skull Candy for supporting the show.
Out.
We're getting some custom made headphones made right now, but they're in the mail. But big shout outs to them for supporting the show. And now let's put that photo of your old man back up.
Oh yeah, it's going
right in front of the source clock. Our shop sponsor. Big shout outs to the source. Okay, we got 10 questions here. Will the iPhone take over photography?
Never. If you can put a 600 mil on that and shoot from 2 kilometers away and have it look that crystal clear, good luck. But like I said, it's a cool tool to like document everyday life, and we're so lucky we'll have the most documented photos and videos of our kids and our friends and these places. But it's just another tool. It'll never replace a good old-fashioned SLR, DSLR.
Ever?
Ever.
What about in 100 years?
Dude, never. I'm old school, too. My grandma will tell you that.
I give it 30 years.
No way. I don't want a phone where I can put a 600 mil in my pocket. It's going to look awkward as heck, dude, walking around with that.
Okay. These aren't my answers. They're yours.
Yep.
So, no. What keeps you up at night?
Oh, man, just all these crazy ideas I have. I think I'm constantly dreaming of new ways to incorporate flashes and new places to travel and new people to work with. And it's important for me to not like rush that process and just let things unfold and still dream, but not be like annoying about it, you know, and let, you know, every year if I go to a few new places and incorporate some new techniques, like be stoked on that, you know, but I'm always dreaming of, you know, new places to shoot surf and moto. And yeah, this year I'm fired up on a few of the places I'm going.
Hell yeah. One place you want to go shoot.
Oh, yeah. Well, honestly, I pitched this like moto trip to Mongolia, and the Husqvarna importer is going to give us 2 450s, and we're doing this like, he's going to guide us around Mongolia, me and a few homies, and we're going to go like tell this story. And I'm really fired up to go to Mongolia. I basically knew nothing about it. I just like, a few connections. I was able to like get bikes and get a guy to show us around. And after diving more into researching it and like the culture and the people and the landscapes, I'm really excited. And
damn,
yeah,
that sounds
so we're
dope.
going there in August, and it'll be a story for the moto magazine I work with a lot called Vana out of the States. And I'm going with the editor, Ben Geezy, who's just like a super sick moto rider. He can wheelie anything, so it's going to be a sick time. And I think the photos, and I'm excited to shoot the people, the eagle hunters, hopefully try to meet some of them. We watched this like documentary on how they hunt there, and it's really insane.
Well, but elaborate on that for just
they
1
hunt
second.
with eagles, like these men and now young females have like, they basically capture these eagles while they're in a nest and can't fly, and train them to hunt Arctic foxes and wildlife. And that's how they like survive in the winter months. And I really hope I get to like shoot a portrait of someone with an eagle there. I'm manifesting that. So
If you're manifesting, it'll come true, man.
yeah, so far so good.
I was manifesting flipping over the front of my handlebars on my
Damn, you
snowmobile
really
and
did that
bruising my
well.
ribs. That's what I was manifesting, and it happened. Favorite snowboard movie?
Oh yeah, which one? You know what? I'm gonna go with Defenders of Awesome. I watched that so much, and I'm so stoked that a lot of those people have got to be my friends now, and I've gotten to spend time in the backcountry with them. And I was in grade 12 when that came out, and I can't tell you how many times I watched that thing. And
So who's in that with Dustin, Kazu, Jess, Brandon Cocard?
Burns. Yeah, dude.
Yes.
Like all these homies, and I watched it at like last winter just to refresh myself, and I was like, dude, these are all like, I know all these people now. Like, it's pretty sick.
That's amazing.
18-year-old Tyler would be freaking tripping.
Favorite snowboarder, male and female?
Oh yeah, this is great. I think my favorite snowboarder, I'm gonna go male, Kazu. Like just watching him ride on his chillest day that's like the closest thing to art I've ever seen on a snowboard. And it was so beautiful. Like he flows, and it's a different way of viewing terrain. And you never know from a photography standpoint. Sometimes I know where someone's going to pop and how they're going to act. Kazu kept me on my toes the whole time. I'm like, how is this? He would like jump and spin off so much shit that I like didn't even realize was possible. So that was really special. And then I think my favorite female, I'm going to say Elena. Elena's freaking powerful. She just like watching her in the mountains and being able to shoot her. And I have so much respect for like how she views spine riding and how she carries herself in the mountains, and how fun it was to hang with her last winter. That was really special to really get to know her on like a personal level and call her a friend now. And she rode like the chocolate spines, like this super gnarly line, like it was nothing. And I was just like, this is special.
She is, those two, great picks. Very good snowboarders. Favorite moto rider? Moto head.
My favorite moto rider is like a new friend, I guess I would say. Axel Hodges is like obviously just has the sickest style. And I've always wanted to shoot with him. And when I was in California this fall, Monster and Oakley were like doing these like shoots side by side. And I got to like bang off some frames of Axel going huge in the dunes. And I was really impressed with his riding, and like so stoked to get to meet him. And I actually saw him take a pretty bad bail where he broke his femur. And kind of a long story short, I just came back from Baldface and did that risk maturity course where we focused a lot on broken femurs. Like 30 hours before that, we did like 10 scenarios on broken femurs and all the ways in which you need to pull traction and track vitals. And so my favorite moto guy, my favorite moto rider is like here, and I'm the one with the newest training, and I got to like help him, and we've been like chatting ever since, and I know we'll get to shoot something special this summer. And it's really crazy how the world works. And, I am a bit of a believer of like being in the right place at the right time, and that there's like some sort of energy out there that like has a greater plan for us. And I really felt like I was supposed to be there to help our guy out. And it was a really cool lesson on the importance of like learning first aid and how it can really help someone in a tough situation. And I'm excited to see Axel back on his feet and shoot some dope moto stuff hopefully this summer.
Yeah, everybody take a first aid course. It's very dope to know that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Favorite surfer?
Oh, man. Holy cow. I think Craig Anderson.
Oh, yeah. He's got good style.
He's got good style. That's kind of how I vision, like, if I could surf really good, that's how I would like to be.
Does he have like the long hair and he wears like button-up shirts and shit?
Yeah, and he's like
lanky.
super chill. Like,
Yeah.
I would like to be chill boarder like that when I surf, but my friends will tell you I'm not that chill. But
He actually reminds me of like I don't know if you know Eric Messier, but like he kind of like he's a Utah boarder. Pretty sure he lives in Utah, but he's all about like the surf on POW, and he's kind of got like some pretty wicked flow. All right, underrated photographer.
oh yeah, let's go. Who do you think? Do you have an answer for that while I think?
Who do I think is underrated? I think. Well, there's a couple people that I like. I like that Glass, whatever.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's go Liam.
Yeah, I like
Liam's
Liam Glass.
sick.
Yeah.
He is like his commitment to like light work and flash work and his eye. He's so sick. Yeah. And I got to work on this Rebel moto thing with him in the summer in Alberta.
Sick.
And he can shoot the hell out of a moto too. So, and Liam is also just like, a person that is super kind and always like gassing up your imagery, not gatekeepy, not like too cool. Like I'm a big fan of that guy.
Yeah, me too. He shoots some of the most like core boarders out
Yeah.
to like the whole paid programming crew and stuff like that.
Dude, that was a really good answer.
Yeah. Well, sorry.
Thanks for the help on that one. No, I just like sometimes I draw blanks when I'm like put under the pressure,
Anybody who listens to this podcast knows that I occasionally draw blanks. So, it happens to all of us, Tyler.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
All right, who is the GOAT for snowboarding and for photography?
I think the GOAT is Surface for sure. Like, I just could pick that guy's brain forever. And some of those images he shot with Travis for the Art of Flight, like, and this one Descenso shot he did where Descenso was frontside flipping these big cargo freights in Vancouver at sunset. Dude, when I got to do a Red Bull thing with Descenso, that was a huge career thing because I was like the guy I've looked up to since I was a kid. Shot this famous Descenso photo, and then I got to shoot this with Mace, and Mace, bless his soul, put on a wetsuit and shot the photo in the river with his water housing, and I kind of got to shoot more maybe the hero frame, and holy heck, I was lucky. Like, just, to get a Descenso shot that I really respect Scott for. That was a bit of a career highlight. And GOAT snowboarder, I just think my friend Jamie Anderson.
There you go.
She's the freaking GOAT. She's so fun to hang with and so good and just always a pleasure.
I mean, those are great answers. I mean, I think Surface has I want to say 40 or 50 covers, maybe more.
I know, dude.
And
a close second is definitely Blatt.
That's incredible.
The amount of covers that guy has is insane. Like last winter, remember, it's like a joke. Like people were making memes about how many covers that guy shot. Like,
if you can be the staff photographer for either Vans or Burton,
yeah,
you should be getting some covers. Like,
dude,
you know what I
know,
mean? You're kind of
so
like,
true.
Imagine being the staff photographer for Burton and shooting those people
all the time.
year.
I know.
Like, dude,
with
even
some heavy
riding,
budge, with some heavy budge, like they go to some sick places, and Burton spent some cheddar bisque on being in the bird.
I'm surprised there's not more covers from the half pipe from that.
I know.
Like, honestly, when you're doing all they have to do in order to get a cover in a half pipe, here, listen to me, everybody. This is how you do it. It's easy. You take all the dumb flags off the deck, and you get rid of everything, and it's just a white half pipe, and you get one of those Japanese riders to do a fucking 50-foot method or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And you're done.
I know. Did you see that new cover, the Pleasure cover magazine of Grillo?
Yeah.
Pretty sick. That's
Very.
like a really dope contrasty hand plant, like all white, and then he's just like black with a little bit of contrast on the snow. Like, I love that shit. It's like your photo. It's like simple, you know, simplicity in snowboarding and good tricks is so beautiful.
Yeah, me too. Do you have a favorite cover other than that one that stands out to you over the, time that you got in to now? Is there ever a cover you're like, damn, that snowboard, skateboard cover, whatever, like just popped to me?
I really like Chad's cover with T. Ricky in that, like, it wasn't even the action moment when Travis was like riding that psycho pillow field. I think it was like a snowboard mag cover, or was it Slush? Yeah. What was it?
I think it was Slush.
Yeah, that photo's sick. It's a good reminder of how snowboarding is an art and shooting it can be an art form, and Chad's obviously really great at that. And yeah, that photo was sick. I was like, that's sick. Like riding into the line, just that before moment is really beautiful.
I agree. All right. Any shout outs?
Yeah, just, shout out to all the people that I've been able to shoot and the trust that they've given me and the opportunities that, it's the people first, like the athletes, the friends that I've gotten to shoot that have gotten me to where I am. It's the mentorship from friends like Mason and, Alex Stroll and Isaac Johnston, and, even like getting to talk to UC. I'm sure he doesn't think about it, but he's been a huge inspo to me, and I know I probably annoy him too much on Instagram, but I can still be annoying sometimes. But a huge shout out to those guys. To my brother, just like being such a rad human and inspiring me to continue to chase my dreams. My dad and mom for like instilling in me that, you should never waste a day. And especially my dad for leading by example and just being such a frother is like the best way to put it. Like I felt like he was the biggest cheerleader and advocate for my photography that I needed, and he was instrumental to just like gassing me up all the time. And then shouts out to the brands and the people behind those brands that I get to work with, that I've worked with for years now. And it seems like, I don't have to go chase new clients because the brands that I've worked for, 4 or 5 years ago still support me. And I appreciate that trust and the willingness to, kind of let me shoot how I feel like shooting and using my creativity as my biggest strength. And I don't take that for granted. I know these days budgets are tight and, the industry does tighten up, but continually showing support for like the people that you have worked with really means the world. So to anyone that's ever paid me for photography, that's ever responded to my DMs and like gone out and shot with me, and the kids and the people that gas me up constantly, like this creative community that seems to surround me, they're all so kind. So to anyone that's ever left me a positive comment or asked a question or been stoked on anything I shot, like, it just means the world. This life is still a dream to me. Like, I never in 1,000 years could I have thought I get to travel these places, make relationships with these people, and I hope everyone knows that I don't take that for granted. It's the biggest gift, and I just want to continue to make my dad proud and shoot moments that stand the test of time. And I think this is just the beginning of a really beautiful creative life. I don't see it changing for a long time. So
I really hope that the big takeaway here for a lot of people is to A, work hard, and B, that if you have a dream, it doesn't get just presented on a silver platter in front of you. You got to start taking some shots at it. And eventually, if you keep working at that craft, it can all unfold at random time. You know what I mean? There's no
Totally.
exact time where it'll unfold, maybe earlier, maybe later for you. You know, luck is always this weird thing that presents itself at a random period of time when you're not really expecting it. But if you have a dream, or if you have something that you really have wanted to do your whole life, there's no better time than trying to lean into that than today, tomorrow. Just go for it.
Exactly. And it's like not going to be a linear thing. There's going to be highs and lows. And just to know, like, every lesson is, you know, going to take you in the right direction, whether it's a loss or a win. Just take some chances, because at any time in life, in our given history, this is the time where you can create the future you want. And there's so many tools and education platforms and so many ways you can connect with people you want to mentor you. Don't be afraid to reach out. And I'm stoked to like continue. I mentor for free, just like kids that I think deserve it. And some people charge for that shit, but I just want to help the industry and help the youth. And if anyone has any questions, like, talk to me. I'm so stoked to get creative, give advice. You know, just remember everyone's timelines are different. Like, I kind of took off at like 25 to 30. You might take off when you're 20. You might take off when you're 35. But everyone's timeline is different. Just if you want something bad enough, don't compare yourself to others, and just stay true to what makes you happy, and just do it for the right reasons.
Yeah, that's a really good way to leave this whole conversation. Just do it for the right reasons. Be a good person. Continue to grind. Work hard. Tyler, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it, man. And I think there was a lot of good gems in there. Very well spoken, and I'm so excited to continue to shoot with you and get another cover.
Dude, I know. Let's
chalk
go.
up another
Let's
one.
go. I really
thanks
love
again.
that. Yeah, thanks. You know, just want to say thanks for having me. And like, you know, these outlets are so special too. I feel like 1,000 pounds lighter right now, just talking about my dad and life and this journey. It's a time for me to reflect a lot, and I'm just super grateful for your trust and friendship. And this has been really dope, buddy.
Likewise, man.
Hell yeah.
Huge fan. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Take care, everyone.
Boom.
Peace.